Bobby Roast Beef here. Another episode of Jigs and Bigs. It's Sunday night. We are recording, and we're on YouTube and on Facebook today because we got a great conversation to have with you guys. It's going to be awesome. We're talking about state records of fish. It seems to us like this year has been insane with all these records being broken. And we're going to have a great conversation about it. Some of them happening right here in Massachusetts, a couple of them in New England that we want to talk about, but we want to kind of have a good conversation with it, and it's going to be awesome. I'm not sure if you're aware, there was a little something going on in Florida last week. It was ICAST, and we're going to talk about ICAST as well. That's all coming up in our first segment. Of course, we got all kinds of good shit to talk about, but as if it couldn't get good enough, not only am I here, not only is who the fuck is Joe Brown here, but we got the one and only Alex Rudd with us. Alex, hot off the heels of ICAST, has some information, and we're going to have a great conversation about all things state records, you name it. If you're in the live stream, Jig Heads, grab yourself something to enjoy. If you're listening to the show after the fact, you go ahead and do the same thing. We'll see you guys in a bit. Don't go too far. Much more Jigs and Bigs coming up right after this. I don't even know how to, I thought that was a great start to the show, but apparently Ganja Mantis Studio says, I taught my Mantis Manny how to break up weed. First live stream at 50 subs. Let's go. So, I mean, I'm going to go over and subscribe. And I think all you guys should as well. We got some other jig heads with us. Like I said, Pat Martin saying, good evening, fellas. We got John Hagan saying hello as well. And then, Pat Martin asked, did you ever go over the June scavenger hunt winners and raffle? The winners, yes. The raffle, no. Winners have all been paid. Everything's good. I'll explain why I'm a little bit behind. And with the August registration, that's finally available. I'll explain. You guys, it all makes sense in just a moment. And Alex, dude, thank you for being here, man. We appreciate you coming on.
I love it. You know me. I always love a good podcast. I love to sit. I love to talk. I love to just talk about fishing. So I'm happy to be here.
Hell
it's
yeah,
going to be good
dude.
too.
It's going to be so good. Joe, I saw you earlier today, which is weird for a recording day. You know what I mean?
Right. I know it is.
It is weird. We're on the same body of water on two different boats, talking smack, spot locked, fishing for the same fish. It was absolutely magical. Yeah.
Two guys fishing the same spot in two different boats.
There was 36 foot of boat between the two of us? 37?
Yeah, probably.
In a row. 37.
It's funny. I was checking, Meg put up a TikTok of us out there. It was actually pretty funny. I'll have to share that with you later.
I love it. What are you boys drinking tonight? You guys drink, or am I the only degenerate that's having a beer?
I'm having a Diet Dr. Pepper or Dr. Pepper Zero. Sorry.
I got one in the fridge waiting for me for later tonight. But no worries. Yeah, so good.
So good.
Have you
caffeine in me needs it. So
have you gotten into the creamy coconut Dr. Pepper at all? Or are you one of those I don't do coconut?
I don't really do any extra, frizzle dizzle on anything that I drink like that. I like them straight. So
rum and that creamy coconut is. I had this right at the ready. Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah, that would probably be good.
It makes me feel like I'm in like Miami. It's great.
Do you have any left, or are they all gone?
Dude, oh my god! So I ordered 4 cases from Amazon, right?
Because that's right. Yeah,
when this broke, like when I first got word of this, it was Becca who had tipped me off about this. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go and figure it all out. I go and I'm looking for this stuff all over, can't anywhere. And I'm like, wait a minute, let's order it on Amazon. Now it was sold out everywhere, but I was able to put like a pre-order. And when it was in stock, which was like 2 weeks later, they just ship it. Well, it shipped.
Yeah.
And it never showed up. I got an email and they're just like something, and it was Amazon that was shipping it. I'm like,
what is wrong with you people?
I ended up getting a refund on it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. And then I went to see if I could go order some more, and they've inflated to like $20 a 12 pack. And I'm like, I can't. You know what I mean? It's going to be at Dollar General soon enough.
Yeah, soon enough.
Yeah. And it's got to be the zero sugar. I'm like, I need every opportunity to lessen the amount of calories as I can.
Oh yeah,
you know what I mean. I mean more than most people. I'm not blind to it. I'm aware.
I'm laughing at you, laughing with you.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the fishy shit that went down in the last 7 days. Why don't we? Let's go. Alex, you're our guest. Go ahead, lay down. What's been going on? I mean, you're always up to fishy shit.
Oh man, listen, I don't ever tempt me with a good time because I'll show up. Yeah. So last 7 days. So last weekend, Saturday, I fished in a kayak tournament, came in second in that.
Nice,
It was
dude.
pretty good. Yeah. It was one of those things like I only caught 66 inches for my best 5. And so by the end of the day, I thought there's no way that I've even placed in this thing. And I showed up, and I guess the day was as bad for everybody else as it was for me, and ended up in second kind of deal. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Sometimes that's just how it is.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, dude, it was like it was just one of those days where I literally got a bite like every hour and 45 minutes. And and I'm fishing a wacky rig, and like at one point I had a bass, literally I watched it suck in the wacky rig and only suck in like a quarter of the worm and spit it back out, suck it in, spit it back out, suck it in, spit, and then finally he like decides to eat it, and I said into him, I'm like, oh, it's a big one, and my big one was like, it's like a 15 incher, you know what I mean? And so like it was that kind of day. So yeah, that was last Saturday, and then Sunday we were relaxed, and then Monday I was on a plane to ICAST, and so headed down to the old 2024 ICAST. Got to see all my people over at the Pure Fishing booth and visit with them. Go see some people over at Johnson Outdoors. Made some new relationships. Talked to some new people. Got some emails to send next week, but it was a good show. Extremely busiest ICAST I've been to in a hot minute, like because the past couple of years has just not been busy, and this year it was Katie bar to the door, shoulder to shoulder. I mean, it was standing room only in that place. It was kind of crazy, and so I don't know what that means.
That could exactly. That could be really great for the industry. You know.
That's what I'm hoping. I mean, and really because, listen, there's a lot of people probably listen to this and they think, just the giant corporate machine that is the fishing industry, it keeps trudging on, right? But at the end of the day, without some of that kind of giant corporate money in these businesses, I mean, if these businesses aren't selling products from the lowest mom and pop all the way up to the biggest industry, if we're not selling products and the industry is not making money, that's not good for any of us. It's just not good. It means that something is wrong. It means that people can't afford to go fishing, and I think that's a rabbit hole we could probably dive into at some point tonight. I think everything is very expensive, and I think fishing is kind of in an unaffordable state right now. But to see that many people down there buying product, preparing for a 2025 season, buying all the new product and having it in stock, that means that they're seeing something that gives them hope that they're going to be able to sell that stuff. And that gives me hope because that makes me think that maybe a lot is at the end of the tunnel for crap being so expensive, and maybe it's not going to be expensive much anymore. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Hopefully. Who knows, man? You know how it is. It's ebbs and flows. Ebbs and flows. Man,
everything in life, buddy. Ebbs and flows.
Freaking bananas. I am stoked to hear your input when we get into it about ICAST, because I mean, the thing that's unique about ICAST, I think there's a lot of folks out there that think that ICAST is just another expo, but it's so much more than that. It's more, I like to compare it in like the music and technology world. It's like NAMM. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's an industry-wide sort of situation where you're not dealing with anglers that are looking to get like the newest baits. You're getting retailers that are there like, what do I want to stock going into that next season? And
exactly.
It is crazy. And I think that, I've had conversations with other folks too that like, I'm surprised this such and such company isn't going to ICAST this year. It's not cheap. You know what I mean? To present at ICAST. So when you're going, you want to make sure that you've got something that's really innovative, something that you really can go all in on. Because it's a big deal, but no, it's pretty freaking nuts. I've been looking around at all the content that's been flowing around, and I'm just like, one of these years I'll go and check it out. But I'm like, it's so hard to take those weekdays off right now. If I can get Jigs and Bigs to start supplementing my income a little bit, then yes, that'd be great. That'd be wonderful.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Friggin' nuts, Joe. How fishy was your week? You had a couple of runs back and forth out this week.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I mean, the first couple times I went a few times. First couple times we're kind of just doing a lot of the break-in for the new boat and trying to figure out the electronics, because a little bit different setup than the Skeeter. And I'll be honest, I couldn't figure it the fuck out for the life of me.
Yep.
Because all my So I got I have the screens on the bow. I have the screens on the console. I have 4 graphs on that boat, and the bow talks to the console talks to the bow, but it was just like I couldn't get them to stop talking when I needed them to stop talking so I could see certain shit. And the biggest thing I was having issues with was I have the 360 on there, and I could see the 360 view from the console if need be, and it kept every time I wanted to do site, because all I run on my screens at the console are my maps and my side scan. That's all I run, and every time I put on side scan, it wanted to do the side scan from the 360. So it was like, and I just could not figure out how to get it to not do that. I wanted to do it from the transducer in the back. So I actually had to go back down to Thayer's and be like, yo, you guys need to like show me this or
Teach me
or set it up for me, because I was like on the phone with Humminbird and they're like, we think your thing's broken. I'm like, it's not broken. I was like, I'm just trying to figure something out. But so my sons were a lot of doing that. I did get out. I took Jeremiah out one night. We got into a couple bass, local spot where I caught my PB, and went there. And then I went down to Candlewood yesterday. Let's talk about Candlewood,
because I have my sights on going to Candlewood, and from what I understand, my plan is the right plan.
Yeah. Mr. Rudd, are you familiar with Candlewood?
I've heard of Candlewood. Yeah, its reputation precedes it, so I've heard all about it, and I've heard. I've heard it's either like it's really, really good, but it can also be kind of fickle if you're not careful.
Yeah, so that place is, everyone tells me. I'm going to be the first one to admit. People told me don't go in there and don't go there in the dead of summer, where you need to get the fish. You're just going to deal with wreck boats, and it's just a nightmare. And that's exactly what I dealt with. I did get onto a couple smallmouth, nothing to call home about. I did mark a lot of waypoints to where I know they will be once like fall comes, that cooler weather starts to come. But it's a 2-hour drive for me down south, and we stayed there till maybe 1 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, because the wreck boat traffic was just bonkers. It was absolute bonkers. I found some boulders like in the middle and stuff like that that you couldn't even fish them if you wanted to. It was just insane. Even like Jeremiah, my 10-year-old, who's like, all he wants to do is fish. He's like, this is too much. And there was no rules on that lake. Like usually like people kind of figure it out when they're on wreck boats, and nah, man, it was like fucking Mad Max out there. It was just like it was like everyone doing whatever the hell they want. Like there was no lanes, there was no like headway direction, there was nothing. It was just whatever you wanted. Everything goes. That's how it was on there. And I'm like, oh, I'm done. Like, no, thank you.
It's so dangerous too. I mean, because all it takes is one idiot that doesn't know how to drive a boat, and you don't have a new icon anymore. You've got a you got an insurance claim.
Yeah, exactly. It's true. And the crazy part is I almost didn't go. So a buddy of mine from PA was originally going to meet me up there, and he had to like work late. It didn't. It just didn't add up, and it didn't work out. So he's like, I'm telling him, he's like throwing me spots, because that was my first time I'd been there, and oh yeah, dude, I forgot where I was totally going with that, but it was just. It was just an absolute nightmare. Yeah. Like it was cool. I mean, I was able to like really pinpoint the 360 and work on that and get that figured out, which is phenomenal. I don't know how I'd never had that before.
The 360 is so good.
Oh, it's I mean, I found sunken boats. Candlewood's kind of like the Quabbin here, Bobby, where there was like towns or whatever, they flooded it out, like what, so you can actually still see like the Fieldstone property lines in there, like on your 360, the old foundations of the houses and stuff like that. And that's where during the spring and whatever and fall, the smallmouth tend to go to. But yeah, it was a good time. It was a kind of a good time, I guess. But I caught a couple. Jeremiah didn't catch any. He was pissed. And yeah. There's a lot of shit going on in the chat right now.
There really is. The fucking chat's blowing up right now.
Jeez.
That's a pro podcaster move right there. Alex.
Listen, I got my finger floating over this mute button because I'm telling you, that'll be like sneeze number 200 of the day. I'm sneezing my head off of it.
Oh, dude, it's so handy to have like an interface where you've got a mute button that you can just go to for whatever reason.
Yeah.
I'm drinking beer, I'm burping over here, and I'm muting every single one. You guys don't want to know when we record on Taco Night here. It's something. Yeah. There's a whole symphony you're not getting in the disco dungeon. Dude,
but yeah, so Candlewood was kind of a bust. I do want to really get down there. I'm definitely going to go down there in the fall, check it out and put the time in. I was talking to Kevin, my buddy. We were talking about just going there for a weekend. And cause it's funny. They literally call that like New England St. Lawrence River.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that yet. I haven't seen it. I'm not going to call it that yet, but you know, cause a lot of companies go do a lot of smallmouth companies that really focus on smallmouth baits and stuff go and test out their shit on Candlewood. So I was like, oh, this place must be fire, you know? And it was not for me. But that's all right. And then today I met yours truly out on the lake there, a small little local body of water. You're like, hey, I'm bringing the Lund out. Grab the icon. I want to see it, and you can see the Lund. It's like perfect.
That was awesome.
So, yeah, I got the whole family. I had them friggin' follow me in their vehicles because there's that little beach there. I was like, well, I'll go hit the water with Bobby. You guys go swimming, and
perfect.
Yeah. Caught a couple, nothing crazy.
Oh yeah, same. I mean, nothing really fantastic. Though I did manage to pick up a point. And Tim, you are kicking my ass, buddy. I'm in second place behind you, Tim Behan, in the scavenger hunt right now by 3 freaking points. Like it's yours to win, Tim. My God, Joe, when you fish that body of water, this is the second time I've run, and I've only fished this water 3 times, but twice I've run into this kid, young kid, right? Fishes there, I guess often. And he's always asking for baits. He's always asking for baits.
No.
2 out of 2 times he's approached me for baits. I gave him a pack of like 4 or 5 of the 2-inch easy shiners that I was catching on. And I'm like, here you go, man. Check these out. And he's like,
was it the heavier set kid in the white?
No, this kid is like, he's like can't weigh more than like 80 or 90 pounds soaking wet. Like,
okay, yeah, all right.
And I mean,
you just come off as more approachable than me.
That might be it. That might be it. And to follow up to Binya's comment about having 2 beards on the show, the thing is, Alex is the lumberjack,
but I'm motherfucking Santa Claus, baby.
That's how it is. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to, and poor Joe is sandwiched between all this manliness from up. You know,
I know. Listen, if my job didn't make me shave, I'd be like, boo.
Oh, hell yeah. That's what I'm saying.
But
that's funny.
Soon enough.
Oh, my goodness. No, I would say not a bad week. I had a crazy week. So I'm actually going to back up to Saturday. And this is going to explain why things have been so freaking crazy with the scavenger hunt and like all that other stuff. So Saturday night, Joe, you remember when I went through my week, how terrible the fishing was that night?
Yeah.
It was not the worst news I got that night. I got a phone call. This was the day before my father told me my great aunt Mary, she was 101, was put into hospice. She passed on Saturday night. Like 36 hours afterwards. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, you got to be kidding me. So obviously there's a bunch of stuff going on. So I really only got out. There were 3 instances. One was a banks end that I got out this week, but I've been a little bit preoccupied, like trying to juggle schedules and stuff. And I debated doing an Am I the Asshole on here because Queen Beef and Bobby Roast Beef are beefing right now. Like she's in New York with my youngest, but some shit went down, and needless to say, she didn't show up to the services. In fact, she had, I make no bones about it on the show, but I joke about her inability to take time off. She works in the school system, so she's got her summers available. Sure. She picks up hours on for summer school every single year. Yeah, that's fine. She also picks up all these additional hours working for a nursing agency. She's a nurse. I get it. That's fine. I told her Saturday, I was like, I'm going to let you know as soon as the day comes up, like what day all the services are. I'm expecting you're going to be going with me. She said, oh, yeah. I did not know until like a day, maybe 2 days. Maybe it was Wednesday night. She had picked up on Thursday. She was going in to do summer school, had picked up a double, was working an afternoon and an overnight. And I'm like, I'm not going to have you at the funeral falling asleep. I'm like, everybody's going to think you're on like fucking fentanyl or some shit like that. And I go, I was a pallbearer. So I'm like, you guys, drive together, Luckily, my oldest daughter is able to drive, and she's that's what happens, Alex, when you get old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I had reached out to my mom and I told her, I was like, listen, I wouldn't plan on Queen Beef showing up. Explain the situation. And then I texted her, and it must have been Thursday morning, right? Yeah, Thursday morning. And I was like, hey, you're off the hook. I go, if anybody asks, we're just going to tell them that you had to work and whatever. And she's like, I told you I'd be there. I'm like, don't worry about it. I'm like, I already handled it. You're off the hook. She canceled the overnight. I get home from work, my gig on Thursday. I get home and she texts me. She's like, hey, don't lock me out. I was like, oh, what time are you coming home? I thought she was coming home at 7 a.m. She's like, oh no, I'm leaving at 11. And I was like, okay. I'm expecting that she's like, okay, she canceled that shift so she can get a decent night's sleep and then go to the services on Friday. She had Friday available. I go and I get up that next morning and I'm, making coffee and stuff, and I jump in the shower. I get my suit together and everything. And I ask her, I was like, hey, what are you wearing today? And she goes, you told me I was off the hook. Oh. Am I the asshole for being pissed about this? Guys in the chat, go ahead. I wasn't going to share this. I almost thought better of it, but am I the asshole for being pissed about this? Like, I'm not, looking for any type of, we're not even going to have a conversation about it. It's just like, I'm a little disappointed. You know what I mean?
So it's fun.
Alex is like,
I didn't sign up for this conversation, Bobby Roast Beef.
Listen, man, I will shit talk somebody in the industry up and down all day long. I ain't getting in between a man and his wife.
Fair enough, man. Actually, wait until the FTG. I'm kind of throwing this out there to jump on the grenade of what's coming in the FTG.
Okay, yeah.
That's a different ball game. But I was just curious. Like, am I the asshole for being like, what the fuck? And the best part is next weekend we're going out of town. So we get to spend like 2 straight days to get crazy. Yeah, Michael Bradley says justified. Fair enough. That's all I needed, Michael. I'll move on. Fishy shit. I started a new series on the YouTube channel. And I selected a name for it. It's called Send Noobs. And the name comes from Chris Tabari, longtime listener and friend of the show. Chris Tabari, amazing human. He had made the suggestion. I'm just like, that is awesome. So I had gone with an old buddy of mine from college, and I talk about him every once in a while, Jimmy. And we have fished before. We probably fished about like 4 times, maybe out of like the last decade. And every time we've ever gone, it's been a bank send, and we never catch anything, not even a bite. And it's just we have a good time. Usually we go out for lunch and blah 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 blah. It's great. And this time I brought him out in the boat. I picked him up when he got out of work. He works 3rd shift. Picked him up. We take a ride out to your neck of the woods, Joe. And remember I told you that this was coming up and you were like, oh, he's like, you're going to catch a bunch of numbers and not much for size. Holy crap, you couldn't have been any more right. It was unbelievable. But we put fish in the boat. It was great. A lot of mainly for me, I was catching mostly smallies. And they just wanted this 2.8-inch Kitech on one of those perfected ball head jigs. Like some of these fish, I had to like perform surgery. They were just choking it so deep. And they wanted this bait. I'm like, wow, all right.
That's
cool.
That's funny because that place, it's like you never catch smallies and largemouth when you go. It's either one or the other. That's awesome because it's usually one or the other, and it's usually largemouth. The smallies like to hide in those boulders, and they don't like to come out.
And that's exactly what we were doing. So I had mentioned last week that I had done the upgrade on my power drive, my Minn Kota power drive. So I've got iPilot. So I've got Spot Lock, and I'm actually, we'll get to this, but there's a couple of other really cool features that I didn't even realize about this that I'm hoping to kind of jump into. But when I talk about Tuesday, we'll explain what that's all about. So we had a great time. It was absolutely a blast. Jimmy caught a couple of sunfish. I set him up with a Bronco blade with one of those little Kitex that I actually gave to that kid today, and he caught 2 sunfish. Pretty like these sunfish in this place. They have shoulders. Like they're there's a pretty good fight, you know what I mean? And what else did he catch? He caught a largemouth too. I think a 12-incher. And I was like, yeah, you want to release it? All this is in the video, by the way. And I put the drone up to get some footage. I was like, yeah, I'm going to do a video of this. It's going to be great. And the video came out so good. But I put the drone up and I just held it in position over the boat to get that perspective. And I was like, I'll take a few casts. We'll see what happens. First cast, I caught a small, the first fish I caught was a tiny largemouth. And I was like, holy shit, I caught a fish on the drone. Like I captured that moment. I was like, what are the odds?
That's that never happens.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
that's
holy
awesome.
shit. Maybe that's why the drone hasn't flown the last 2 times. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's what it is. I got a DJI Mavic Air that I cannot get to fly the last 2 times I've been out. And I'm thinking that maybe it's the latest firmware update, needs to be refreshed or something. So I'm going to reach out to them and find out. But
it was just screaming at you today.
Oh, dude. Yeah, absolutely. Well,
it wanted not to fly.
In the boat, all those alarms are because there's like stuff around it. Once it gets up and over, it shuts right up. Yeah, all you hear are the fans. Yeah. So we fish that day. We go out. We have lunch, and then Tuesday is still fishy shit. No fishing at all. I hitched the boat up, and we went down to Rhode Island to JCS. We visited John for he's going to be doing some custom work on the Lund. We're talking electronics. He's a lot of projects for the trailer. The trailer is going to sort of have this whole metamorphosis happen. And we were talking about, I told him, I was like, I couldn't wait on, swapping out anything. I did the upgrade on the power drive. And honestly, that 55-pound thrust power drive is great on the Lund. For a boat that size and weight, 55-pound is more than I need. But I was like, yeah, so I'm pretty satisfied with that. Came up with a plan, and I think we're going to maybe go Humminbird on some of these graphs just so that the technology works with Minn Kota. We'll see what happens. He asked about like forward facing and stuff, and I'm like, I don't really have a need, but at the same time, I'm a little bit compelled to have it on there so this way I can do content that's around it and try and like really, because I like getting into the nuts and bolts of all the techie stuff, and I think that if there's somebody that's like, I don't like that, well then you could, get some of this information or some feedback from me on if it's what you want to do. Speaking of forward facing, one of the things that came out in ICAST that I think is amazing, but I'm curious in practice how it works. Lowrance has a $1,000 forward facing unit coming out.
Yeah, they do. They do. I saw it today.
It kind of looks like super basic and super.
It is. It was like really green. I mean, for someone
to just take the leap, that might be a good way to do it.
It was, I believe it's the transducer and that like 7-inch unit together. I believe it's a bundle. It's $1,000, and that's a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
it's a pretty good deal considering that the forward facing, just the transducer from Humminbird and Garmin are both $3,000+
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, so you could get the transducer and the screen, and then go buy a 12-inch screen to mount it on, and still be probably cheaper than you would.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
That's a really good point. But I'm wondering if this might quelch some of the whining that's gone on about technology. Maybe, at least from the price side of it. At least from the price side, where people are just like, oh, we can't, get such and such. It's not available, or it's gatekeeping, or whatever the hell they want to say.
It will not. It will not if all the rumors are true about what's coming out.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. We can talk about it now or later, but from what I'm hearing, it's going to be wild, and it's going to be expensive. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool. All right.
I'm intrigued. Yeah.
This will be interesting. So, John and I talked about a bunch of stuff for what's going to happen with the Lund. We're going to do some graphics on it. Yes, the boat's going to have a Jigs and Bigs graphic on it. 100%. A big Jigs and Bigs graphic on it, on the sides. as well as a JCS graphic as well, because JCS is now one of our new partners, which is awesome. Congratulations. We're going to have John on the show. We're going to talk about all the different services. And this is a good thing for, freshwater boats and saltwater boats. And this shop, I got to see, did you hear about John's Lund? He bought a Bass, what is it? Lund V-Bass Pro 2075.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Pro. Wow. Yeah. Pro. Yes. Yeah. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What an amazing boat. And it was all parted out. They're just getting things together on it. But the trailer, all this, I'm like, wow. So if you want to get custom, you can get custom at JCS. John's a good guy to know. We'll start there. You guys will learn some more. So I head back home. Everything's great. I go into, I actually went by Webster, and I was just kind of scoping out some spots to launch and all kinds of stuff. And I ended up, I've been doing these sandwich reviews, and I should have recorded this because it was out of this world. There's a little fruit market. I'll look it up and I'll post the stuff on Instagram because I'll be going back. But I got a sandwich from this place, and it was out of this freaking world. Details forthcoming. What was this? Now, Wednesday, didn't get out at all. Thursday, didn't get out at all. Friday was the service, and my morning was completely busy. And my buddy Paul, who had taken the day off, there was some scheduling issues they had to work out, so he ended up having this day off, and whatever he needed to take it off for did not end up happening. So he's like, I've got Friday off. You want to go out? And I was like, I'd love to. But it just didn't make sense with when I was going to get home to grab the boat, head out to wherever we were going to go, splash it, because I still had to work that night. I had a show that night. And it's my last show for my Friday residency for 3 weeks. So I'm like, I'm not missing this one. I got to be there for it. So I said, if he was just like, we'll just say he needed to get out of the house. You know what I mean? It was one of those days, hot summer day. I need to get out of the house. So he went out. He met me at one of our favorite bank fishing spots. I couldn't even buy a bite. It was ridiculous. I think he caught one or two small ones. I could not get bit whatsoever. I was out there strictly with my BFS stuff. Threw a bunch of different stuff, got a couple of taps here and there, nothing crazy. One thing that's going on this week that I get to do, and I've started the ball rolling in that, is I've been really into St. Croix and the Bass X rods. I bought a jig rod last fall, and I've caught a bunch of fish on it. Love that rod. And then after I lost a combo over the edge of the boat, netting a fish for Paul, I had to replace that combo. So I decided I'm like, I'll get the Bass X. We'll try it out. And I love that combo. That has proved to be unbelievable. I've been using that all over the place. But there's one thing that a lot I've heard from some folks that happens, and that's that the reel seat will become unglued on some of these Bass X rods. And my jig rod had that happen. So I was putting the rods away one day, and I was like, what the hell? Why is my Corrado spinning around? What? This doesn't make sense. So I decided I would hit them up and talk about their, I know we're going to get DMs. People are going to say, silence your phone, Bobby. There you go. I silenced it. So I decided I would submit the claim. It's going to be 2 weeks. So thank God I have a couple of old Vengeance rods lying around from Abu Garcia, because I managed to put together, I've got a 7.6 heavy that I'm like, I'll throw jigs on this sucker. It'll be fine, until I get the replacement. So that's good. We had gone out. We had fished on Friday. Couldn't buy a bite. I had to get home quick because I had on the schedule, the same schedule that I used to schedule guests for the podcast, that I used to schedule meetings for clients, for events, Calendly. I have one that's for fishing. When folks say, hey, I want to fish, I'm like, I send them a link and I'm like, you pick a date based on my general availability and we'll figure it out. Yeah. The Bearded Angler on Instagram, Joe Mazzafaro and I, we had one hell of a day. We met at 4 a.m. I think we fished in total for like 12 or 13 hours by the time we called it. It was ridiculous. We sent it 2 bodies of water, one of them my favorite lakes. We go there. It was just ridiculous. It got to be about 10 o'clock, and I said, let's give it till 11 and then bounce. I'm like, because twofold. After about 11 o'clock, 11 to noon, that's when the rec boaters are going to come out and it's going to get stupid. I said, let's go ahead. We'll fish this pretty hard. But we had gone without a bite, and we had tried a couple of different areas, looking in different spots, and just could not get bit anywhere. We decided to go to this other body of water. And those of you that are in the know, this other body of water was it's a super sketchy boat ramp. Like, it ain't paved. It's all rutted out. Like, it's crazy. So I had Joe actually go by the water's edge as I backed the boat down there to kind of like ease it back. Man, it went so smooth. Like, the confidence with that big trailer is getting like ridiculous now. Like, I love moving that versus my kayak trailer that I can't see. Oh my God, that's hellacious. So we launch it, and it was a weird pattern. Like, we were intentionally throwing different stuff to kind of dial them in. This body of water. I wanted to mention, so people that are in the know will know or have heard of this body of water before. This is the place where the infamous goose wing sign was where Sean the Fisherman was just like absolutely freaked the fuck out about this spot. It happens to be in a part of Massachusetts that's a hot spot for like Bigfoot sightings, UFO sightings, cults, like crazy. It's got a reputation. Like it's nuts.
Let's go,
dude. I want to plan a camping trip there, and if you're into it, let's do it. You know what, Alex? We'll do this in the fall. We'll do this nothing is better than New England in the fall.
Don't hit me with a good time, buddy.
Yeah.
Don't hit me with a good time.
Yeah, we'll camp it. It's going to be unbelievable. And where this area is, like, the Berkshires are fucking beautiful. You know what I mean? Like, you could bring Bethany up and everything, and she would love it. Like, hell yeah. So let's back up a little bit. So Joe and I, we send the boat out, and I don't see big boats on this body of water very often. It's not a huge spot. So I'm going, and I've got the trolling motor going pretty good. Like, we're covering some areas. There's a lot of submerged timber, so I'm flipping jigs up in there. Where the wind had picked up significantly, we still have bluebird skies, and got a couple of taps on things here and there. I started really kind of focusing on some of this wood, and we fished the hell out of this one beaver hut. It was ridiculous. We get down to the back end of this pond, and I don't know why, but Joe starts throwing around a mag draft. Like that line through one, the one that doesn't come with a hook. I forget what it's called. So he's throwing a mag draft, and he gets, now I should say, I was throwing a jig around, and as I was swimming it back, I was getting follows, weird follows. I had a big trout follow it right back to the boat. I had a big largemouth come out of nowhere. I didn't see this fish anywhere and just follow it right back to the boat, all in a very particular color for the water conditions that were there. I decide, I'm like, all right, Joe, you know what? You're throwing a mag draft. You just got a good follow. I'm like, I'm going to give it a go. I had like albino shad and yellow perch. He also had a yellow perch as well. I first cast with that albino shad, follow right to the boat. I was like, you got to be shitting me. This is nuts. I go, all right, what can I do? The only thing I can do is change the color. Let's see what happens. Next cast, chain pickerel just rocks it right at the boat. Like was below the boat, comes out, snaps over and grabs this mag draft, takes it down. I go and I'm like, I get the shittiest like hook set ever. And he shook off before I was just going to flip him right in because I need a pickerel so bad for this scavenger hunt tournament. I'm like, I'm itching to get this fish in the boat. Falls off and I'm like, all right, cool. We're running out of time at this point. He put a pickerel in the boat. He also, and I also put some kind of a bluegill, red breast or something in the boat. It was ridiculous. We decided we would go and just grab some food, call it a day. But man, I had a great time with Joe. I'm going to get him back out on the Lund with me with his son, Bobby. I know Bobby's got a birthday coming up, and Joe has been a listener of the show for a long time, and Bobby as well. Bobby is, what did he say? He's going to be 13. And I can't believe he lets him listen to this show. We are absolute degenerates, but I'm not going to question Joe's parenting. But unbelievable, man. Unfriggin' believable. And and then I went out today, and I was out in Central Mass, bumped into Joe on the water. It was pretty freaking nice. And as he came out from the launch, I was like, you're never going to guess what's in my live well. The fish I have been trying to put in the tournament, and probably the one species I've gone to this specific spot for, all 3 times I've ever been there, a brown trout, a 15-inch brown. which gave me that extra point to end up in second place, where Tim Behan is still kicking my ass by 3 points. Good job, Tim. Good freaking job. So it was kind of a wild week, you know? I know it's
a good week. It's a good week.
It started.
Let's just take stock.
Yeah.
I don't care what your political affiliation is. This week was a hell of a week. Period. We saw history be made this week.
Oh yeah.
Like this was the year of history being made, and it continues to be made even today as we're recording this podcast. I literally texted my buddies earlier, and I was like, guys, we are literally living through what will be put in history books and taught to our kids 20 years from now. Like this is wild shit.
That's been, I mean, us as, you know, me as a millennial, at least, it's been my whole fucking life, it seems.
Wild.
Well, I mean, it's I don't want to be Captain Obvious here, but literally everything that happens every day is in history books. Like, not the mundane shit and everything, but I know what you're saying. Like, there's shit that happens, and they're like, oh, in 2005, this fucking shit happened, or whatever.
Yes.
It just seems like we keep getting outdone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's fucking wild.
Just be like, there's nothing that's happened yet that I went, yeah, no, that's not as bad as this other thing. It's all just like, damn. Yeah. Come from? Like, at this point, the aliens could land on the White House lawn and take a shit, and I would be like, so it's Wednesday. Okay, yeah. All right, let's fish still biting. That's all I can. Listen, I got to tell this story because this is hilarious.
Yes.
So Saturday, I said I fished the bass tournament, right? Uh-huh. So our lines in was at 5 o'clock. Lines out was at 1 o'clock, and we did that to avoid recreational boat traffic. And then plus, it has literally been hotter than Satan's tits down here. So like the high that day was like 98. Feel like was like 105. That kind of deal. Mm-hmm. So I got up super early. I left the house at like 3:30. So I get home that afternoon, and you know, me and Bethany were huge UFC fans. Bethany, I think, is a bigger UFC fan than I am. I mean, she absolutely loves it. So we were going to watch the fight card that night. Mm-hmm. Come on at 7 o'clock. I lay down on the couch at 6. I said, listen, I want to sleep for an hour. Wake me up at 7 o'clock. She goes, all right, sounds good. My wife, God love her, this is what she does. She walks up and she rubs my back. She says, hey, honey, it's 7 o'clock. They tried to kill Donald Trump. And I do this number. I go, the fuck? Like, what happened? She goes, they tried to kill him. I'm like, who? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, where? And it's just like my mind is like trying to catch up and wake up and be like, but that's the way she wakes me up. And I'm just like, what's going on? Like, why? Well, hold on. I'm still asleep in one time period and I've woke up in another one. What the hell's going on?
When you're it headed into that slope of like deep REM sleep, and somebody hits you with anything that you need to use your brain for, like, she should have had like a camera going or something to get that reaction.
Oh, yeah. Your reaction,
that's history.
Yes, I felt myself because I mean I'm like laying there like in the fetal position, you know, like arms drawn up, like dead asleep, and she says that, and I'm just like, huh? It's like, what did you just say? Yeah, no, it was wild. Goodness. That was wild. It's been a wild week. It has been a wild week, ladies.
And again, you know, not love them or hate them, whatever your affiliation is. That one photo is going to be one of the most iconic photos of all time forever. But craziness.
Unbelievable, dude. Absolutely unbelievable.
Wow.
So now that we've covered our fishy weeks, I think it's time we do some headlines. We'll take a quick break, and once that's done, we have a double FTG for you guys. One that is absolutely fishing related, and then one that is marriage related.
Oh Lord!
But trust me. I with what we just talked about 20 minutes ago or whatever, however long it was, I put it further into the shit, you know, pot than anything else. This is good, Dave. I did this for you. We'll just leave it at that because it could have been bad. All right. Knuckleheads in the news.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So, I mean, we have Alex here, so he really should be taking this because he was just down there. But
Yeah.
for the headlines, we were just going to talk ICAST 2024
Yeah.
and kind of as a as an outsider looking in, because I'm going to be 100% honest, I have not looked into everything. I haven't had the opportunity yet.
Yeah.
I just kind of looked at the show winners, and let's be honest, guys. Every time, I'm going to say 75% of the time, when they have like best of show, you just look, because knowing what else was there, you're always just like, ugh, like how is that better than this? Or
Well, and I will say this about best of show, that ICAST itself is way more saltwater oriented than you could ever imagine.
Yeah.
Like
really?
Yes.
Oh, of
okay.
course. Yeah. Because it's
ICAST
fishing in total, you know?
Yeah, it's fishing in total. So not only do you have fly, salt, all the iterations of salt, but you also have fresh and all the iterations of fresh. Now, obviously, we have this huge focus on bass fishing because bass fishing and largemouth bass are the most popular game fish in North America. So that's where a lot of our focus, and us being bass fishermen, freshwater fishermen. But dude, I'm telling you, walk around that show, and a mass majority of that show is saltwater oriented. And so like that pin reel taking best of show is not a surprise to me at all, because there was so much clamor around it, like walking around the show, talking to people, because they would just be like, man, that new pin reel legitimately is like industry revolutionary technology.
Yeah, for sure.
And for us, I'm sitting there going, yeah, sure, whatever. But it's because we don't crank tunas out of 5,000 foot of water or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that's, I can definitely understand that for sure. And, so, because obviously the best of show was what's it called, Pen Fathom electric reels. I saw like quick photos of them and stuff. I didn't really into it. Again, I'm not a saltwater guy, mostly because every time I go in the saltwater, I do very little fishing and a lot of puking. So that's why.
That's fair, dude.
So let's talk a couple of the category winners, kind of what we go into real quick. We can talk about them real quick, but this is gonna be kind of a few of the big ones. So the Shimano Vanford FA won the spinning reel.
Yep.
I mean, it's a Vanford. It's Vanfords are ridiculous. They're awesome reels. This one's, I mean, I think the price point for this one's kind of around what they usually are, and it's that $250 price range. One thing that was kind of weird to me, and Alex, maybe you can talk to this. There was no casting reel.
No, we discussed that. We have no idea why, because I was standing around after the awards, and I went, what won casting? Daiwa? And we were like, no, there was no casting.
Okay. I didn't know if I just like kept going by it and just wasn't seeing it.
I don't know if there was, I don't think anybody entered an option for that.
Okay. Wow, that's strange, because Daiwa just came out with that new Tatula SV.
Yep.
So I mean, that's
there was that gold one too.
Yeah.
That gold.
Shit. The eye reel.
That's what it was.
Who's that? Is it Cast King?
Cast King came out one, and then Luse's new reel also has that new. It's the same technology as a DC digital chip.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it doesn't make the whining sound though. It doesn't do that.
Oh well, what's the use? Why would you buy it then?
I know, right? Because it's like being vegan. You got to let everybody know that let everybody know you got a DC reel. But no, yeah. So I don't know. Weird on the casting thing, and then weird that Lose didn't just drop that reel in there with that new tech in it. I have no idea. It's very strange.
It's very strange year for casting. I mean, there was no rod either. No casting rod either.
No, there's just a combo. No individual rod, just a combo. Yep.
Mm-hmm. So freshwater rod, the Ugly Stick GX2. I mean, that series of rods been around forever. It is fucking indestructible, and it's $50.
Listen, I was so excited because we were all standing around. I said, with all the forward-facing sonar stuff and all the new technology, I want Ugly Stick to win something just because Stick. You know what I mean? I was like, I want it to win. And the new campaign is awesome. the Fish on America.
Yeah.
There's a new commercial. They'll be dropping it here soon. We got
Yeah.
And I actually got to do some video stuff for it, which was even cooler to be in a commercial like that. But like the commercial literally makes you want to be like, let's drink some beer, watch NASCAR, and go fishing. Hell yeah, America.
They
awesome.
know their audience. You know, that's what it is.
Hell yeah. Dude.
You know,
hell
they
yeah.
know.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's me, the dumb redneck. That's me.
Yeah, exactly. Dude, I've had I think I still have some GX2s back there somewhere because
I keep one in the boat just in case I ever need to beat the piss out of somebody and I don't want to break a rod. I mean, it's
you're
just
not going to break it.
You know
you're
what I
not
mean?
going to break it. Yeah, I was watching a quick video on ICAST. I can't remember who. I wish I could give them a shout out. I don't remember the channel. But they're like, guys, like I've had these, you know, mostly for my, you know, kids now that I have upgraded all my stuff. He's like, I closed my garage door on one a few months ago, right onto the eye too, and it didn't even do anything. Like it was totally fine. So they are I will say they are indestructible. This one was strange to me. Maybe Alex can talk to this. The Berkeley, not that it's strange, but the Berkeley Kredge jerkbait, that's been out for a minute already.
Yeah,
so we launched those in January. Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah.
That's why they weren't at ICAST last year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we did an independent launch. We did a Berkeley Science Symposium in Houston, Texas.
I remember that.
Yep. I remember hearing about that. Yep.
Yeah, first ever. Really, first of all, one of the coolest experiences I've ever got to experience. Like totally separate myself away from any affiliation with Pure Fishing. Just the fact that I got to sit in the room with all of those dudes, you know, Brock Now and Mark Sexton, and then when they had an AI expert on that I had on my podcast, and just getting to see the Space Center and do all that, absolutely incredible. But no, we launched 3 baits there: Kredge, Finisher, and then the Power Switch. And the Kredge was one of the ones we launched there. Now that kind of was a forward-facing sonar dedicated launch. Right? That's really showing that we've designed baits. Not that show up better on forward-facing sonar or do any of that. They're just optimized for that type of fishing.
Yeah.
And then we wanted to re-enter Kredge at ICAST this year because Kredge is way more than just forward-facing sonar.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I've been this fall. You guys are going to see a bunch of stuff that I've been trying to figure out and really start like building some video content around. Just dropped a video a couple weeks ago using it on Lanier as like a subsurface, you know, almost like weight style bait.
Interesting.
And then in River Current, I've been playing with it as well. It is the most interesting bait in the whole entire world because you look at it, the way that it swims and what it does, and you think, what about that exactly attracts the bass? But my word, I've had smallmouth swim from 25 feet away to eat this thing.
No shit.
And like it's just
I'm gonna have to grab a couple to at least give it a
and when you
try.
do, hit me up and I'll send you some videos of me fishing it because it's like one of those things. You can fish it like jerkbait, obviously Kredge. It's jerk backwards.
Yeah.
And it's designed, you know, it falls backwards. So when it hits the water, you feed it line, it's going to fall backwards and it shimmies on the fall and it shimmies backwards towards whatever piece of cover you're fishing around. That's the forward-facing sonar aspect of it. Because what you can do is throw it past a brush pile, feed it a bunch of line. It's going to swim, you know, it's going to sink past that brush pile, and then you can twitch it over the brush pile. If the fish come up and they don't eat it, you feed it line, and guess what it does?
It goes right back
shimmies
down.
right back down to them. Yeah, so essentially, you can like keep that bait in a spot infinitely. Like if you do it the right way, like I have kept that Kredge over a brush pile for 5 or 10 minutes at a time. Just twitch up, feed it line, twitch up, feed it line, twitch, and because it just comes up and goes down, comes up.
Sure.
And so, but that being said, there's also the whole part about it being that subsurface kind of topwater deal as well, which is what we were doing on Lanier. And it's kind of crazy. I mean, we're just throwing them out there in steady retrieve, and it shimmies like a spy bait, and it just kind of hunts back and forth like this. And I mean, those fish come completely unglued for it. It's absolutely insane. So I love it.
That's what you want.
Yeah, that's why we re-entered that. Just so we could we had our launch in January, and then kind of a soft relaunch again here at ICAST, just to make sure, hey, Kredge is still here, and it's here and it's here to stay. So that was that.
Now, is it a 110 size?
It's a 100 size.
100 size. Okay,
that's perfect.
Right. Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. Gonna have to give that a shot. So Another Z-Man's Shadtron. It's a line through swim bait, kind of like your Mega Bass. Oh shoot, help me out here, Bobby.
Those
The
are called.
freestyle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's cool. It's got like that Elastec, like you can stretch the thing out for like 3 feet, whatever.
Oh, yeah.
It's got that. It's got some cool patterns, boot tail, cool bait. I don't think it's like revolutionary by any means, but this one, I like to get Alex take on this one too. This one blew my mind. Of the price point that they put on this type of product. So, the VMC Redline Series tungsten swim bait jig.
Yeah.
Yes.
$20 for a pack of 2.
Yeah. Dude, it's out of hand.
Dude,
are you fucking crazy?
So let me tell you why it's stupid. Okay, and I will call every person out in the industry right now. I did this on my podcast last week.
Yeah.
Tungsten does not show up better on forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
There are no materials that show up better on forward-facing sonar.
Yeah.
Only the size of things shows up better on forward-facing sonar. That's it.
In fact, tungsten would show up worse because it's more dense, and at whatever weight, it's going to be smaller.
Exactly. Yeah. And even like, so a lot of these companies are coming out here and like this jig head, I'm sure I didn't read it. Yeah. So the high density tungsten construction enhances returns and improve visibility. So that's, obviously they're talking about forward facing sonar. That is an untrue statement.
Yeah.
That's not.
And that's like the whole Berkeley, like on the developing of the baits that we did. Literally at no point did we say you can see it better. No, we just optimized a bait for the technique that is forward-facing sonar because there's no material that shows up better. It's only the size of things. Now, if they figured out how to make a 3/4 ounce head that was the size of a quarter, then yes, you have a better return. But like, then obviously you're going to have this giant ball head that fish probably aren't going to be attracted to, all that kind of stuff. And so,
you got to pick your battles.
You got to pick your battle. And I think this is just, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, tungsten is also not what it used to be. Like, it's not a new thing in the industry. And so we can't charge what we used to for it, especially when we can go on like these affordable tungsten sites or order straight from China like I do. Yeah. Like every year I just order straight from China. And like there's a factory that I've found and I can order 100 weights for like $50 and have them shipped to the house. And so like, I don't know. You're going to, you really got to be like drinking the Kool-Aid over it.
And I fish ball head jigs quite a bit. And I lose a lot because of the way I fish them. Yeah. So it's like, I cannot fathom,
losing
spending that kind of money. Lose it
on the
each one.
The plastic.
Yeah, the way I fish those, I lose at least a few each time I go out. Just the way I fish them. And
how do you fish them? I'm just curious.
So I like to with those I always start at the bottom. I always start at the bottom and I bring them up.
Yep.
Especially this time of year, especially with the fish that are out a little bit deeper that are kind of, because obviously
that's what I was doing today.
Yep, largemouth, for instance, they're two places right now. They're shallow or they're deep. Oh. Yeah, you got big ones up shallow, you got big ones up deep. So if I'm targeting those deep ones, chances are they're just belly down. So I'm just kind of dragging that thing on the bottom. And there's times where and obviously I'm finding any structure, any timber that's in that deeper water, any rocks, boulders, anything like that. And I'm going to drag those things over there. And I'm going to try to, get that thing to drop essentially right where they are or in that vicinity. And doing that, I get hung up on shit and I lose stuff. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter what I use. It's just a style of fishing that I do. And
I've gotten ballsy with like a ball head jig before with that open hook, trying to do the same thing. Yeah. And that's where I was like, wait a minute. I have all of these like 3/4 ounce wobble head jigs, football head jig with an EWG. Yeah. And I lose way less, but that's a technique, especially like dragging along rocks for like smallies.
Because I can throw on a jig, like especially like for the smallies, a finesse jig or something. But sometimes it doesn't work. So if I want to try, some kind of swim bait, it's. I don't know. It's just something I do. It's just a technique I use. I throw, especially when the bite. I typically don't throw swim baits like soft plastic swim baits unless the bite's real tough. That's like one of my like, all right, it's starting to really suck. Let me throw this thing on, and at least I'll catch a 12-incher at least.
I want to look up the wobble. But
smallies is a different thing. Smallies, I use those for smallies often.
So
fun fact about that, two things that I heard there that just stood out to me because I'm reading, and this will probably come in at some point tonight. I'm rereading, and I finally got my hands on my own copy of Knowing Bass.
Yep.
And so finally get my hands on my own copy. I'm rereading it. And it kind of some things, it's funny. You read something once and then reread it, and like the things that stand out to you.
Yeah.
So one thing is like when you say you start at the bottom and then work it up to the top. So fish naturally want to follow things to the top. It doesn't matter how deep they are. They want to push them to the top because that's the natural, like the path that bait fish take.
Yeah.
And like literally when things move towards the top, a credge, finisher, those things that we developed, you know, and that's what credge does. When you twitch it, it comes towards the top, falls back down. All that. That's why those bass do that. They want to follow something to the top. They want to pin it to the top.
They feed up. They feed up.
Yeah. And then now another thing is that there's a point in a bass's life, it doesn't matter if it's largemouth, smallmouth, or spots, but smallmouth and spots primarily will become way more fish-driven eaters. There's a word for it. It's like it's a pisca something. I don't know, but it's pretty much like fish. It means they eat fish. They eat fish all the time.
They're a pescatarian diet like that.
Essentially that, but there's a different word for it, like when it comes to animals, you know what I mean? But like with smallmouth and spotted bass specifically, they actually start eating those at a younger age and are more willing to eat fish and stay on a fish-driven diet, whereas a largemouth will be a little bit more adaptable and like focus on crawdads and stuff like that, where smallmouth and spots literally go seek out things that look like bait. There's another sneeze. Lord have mercy.
Dude, that's impressive, man. That mute button skill is impressive.
Listen. I'm telling you, I'm fast on the trigger. You better watch out.
It was like he edited it right there.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. I just called up just to take a look. Like you were talking, Joe, about those VMC tungsten jig heads. So you said it's $20 for two?
It was, I think it was $16 to $19 I saw.
For two. So okay, that's perfect. That's perfect. That's even better, actually. Because like reaction tackle, like I looked up, I was like, how much do I pay for the football swing head jigs that I use?
Yeah.
A 3-pack is $17.99 at 3/4 ounce. If you go with like a quarter or an eighth, a 1/4 ounce is $10.99.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a 3-pack. I'm like, ooh, okay. Yeah. That's good to know. That just seems like price point. And that was one of the things that stuck out to me about ICAST. I saw some stuff from Busby that looks so cool, you know? Specifically like a couple of what I kind of looked at, and I would have to get a better look at, obviously, is like their crates where you could store, and there's like dividers in them and stuff.
Yep.
And for the price point for them, it just seems like they're coming into the market a little bit too much. Like I feel that you're going to get a certain group of people that are like, I'm going to find a Rubbermaid alternative, you know? And they're just going to do it. And I don't know if that's going to ultimately be, if it's going to be a good thing, if they're going to sell enough numbers. There's also stuff out there like, what was it that I saw that it blows my mind. Everybody right now is talking about the Yak Attack measuring board. Everybody.
I saw that,
and I can't even tell you. Like, I think, don't get me wrong, like I think some of the features are cool. I love the idea of the fact that the bump board has a mirror. I think that's great. That's cool. Yeah. It has an ID card on it, or an ID card holder on it, which is nice. And I think it's extendable. Like it slides together or something, or
the one I used didn't.
Okay,
maybe there may be something to that, but you got to be careful with that.
That's exactly it. My thing is this: I feel like I don't know that you're going to see enough tournament trails accept these soon enough where they're going to go crazy. Because like Catch has they're all those boards, even the folding muskie boards, are pretty much universally accepted by the majority of CPR tournaments. And I wonder how this is going to play out for Yak Attack, because I know like there are just folks that are just the compatibility with the Yak Pack and everything. Of course, they're going to want to use that. You know,
Cool. But
it is cool.
I think you're right. Like I've spent my $90 on my aluminum catchboard. There's nothing in me unless I lose that catchboard that makes me want to go buy a Yak Attack one, especially after I got my hands on it and how big it is. Like even in my Hobie PA14, I was finding it hard to find somewhere to put that board. So essentially what happened, I went fishing with Drew Gregory one day at the Kayak Adventure Series, and he was like, here, try this out for the day. Tell me what you think. And
that was the
it's
Yak
cool.
Attack one? Yeah.
Yeah, the bump's cool, board's good and wide, fish settles down into it well. You know, I mean, everything makes sense. It's just so freaking big.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that there's a lot of folks that I think for them, they're like, oh, storage, you know, but it's just, I mean, and you know, I'd hate for people to think like, oh, this is cool, I need it. And then they go to get into tournaments and they're told you need a catchboard. You know, it's like,
well, I mean, none of our tournaments have accepted it yet.
Yeah. And so, I don't, we haven't yet for the scavenger hunt series or for the slot limit series that we do. The slot limit series we probably won't, but I am considering allowing other boards for the scavenger hunt. If it's going to get people into the scavenger hunt, I'd be willing to move on that. But scavenger hunt isn't like a crazy tournament. That's just a fun kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, not to go off on a tangent, but let's back up here just a bit.
I love tangents.
There's something I do have to address. The price of crap. I walked around that show looking at the price tags on some of these things. We're going to have to calm down a little bit. I mean, like, I hate to sound like an old man shaking my fist at the clouds, but we are going to have to calm down on some of this stuff. I mean, like, it's like the Busby stuff. They make incredible gear. I love what they're doing. I think it's really cool. It's so innovative. But I mean, man, like when you start putting Yeti prices on what is essentially a Plano tub that says Busby on the top of it, it's so, I think we're getting to a point in the fishing industry. And I said this to several people last week at ICAST. And I'm talking, when I say several people, I'm talking people who are working in the industry. These are people who are in positions of power at these companies. I think we are dividing ourselves into two subcategories when it comes to fishing. Yeah. We've got the haves and the have-nots. Now, being a have-not does not mean that you don't have the means to go fishing.
Of course not.
It just means that you don't have that $150,000 to $200,000 for a new boat. You don't have the $80,000 for a new truck. You don't have the $500 to $700 for a rod or a reel. You don't have $45 for 300 yards of a specific type of line. You don't have $40 for a lure or $20 for a jig head or two jig heads or however many damn jig heads it ends up being.
$20.
And I think the people who are the have-nots are the ones that are holding on to like the GX2 being the rod. To the lower price point options for even these crazy JDM baits. You know, like everybody loves JDM. Okay, the reason these companies get knocked off is because they're so unobtainable for the normal person.
Exactly
Not only do you have to import them into America, but they're $45 and $50 to $200 for something that really isn't worth that. Right. So, like, I think that we're going to have to be so careful in the fishing industry, especially in the direction that we're going with the economics of the world in which we live in, that we're going to hurt ourselves with the prices of some of these things. And I think some of these companies are going to start to see, hey, the sales aren't what they used to be because like we're just pricing so many people out of fishing. And it's just ridiculous.
It's tough because like on the one, you're 100% right, Alex. Like it's challenging because you see these price tags and I would definitely be like that old. I am that old man, but I would definitely be that old man on my porch, like shaking my fist at the sky. But like the price is ridiculous for everything right now. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's at the point. It's at the point right now. My wife pointed this out to me, and I never ever even considered this. If you go to Whole Foods right now, and I know everybody's just like,
oh, Bobby and the Beef family, they're so fucking bougie going to Whole Foods.
No, if you were to go to Whole Foods right now and buy their store brand, I think it's like called Life 365 or something like that, or 360 something or whatever it is. It is lower priced than what like grocery store prices were. Like if you buy, like I buy olive oil in like the big cans, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if you go and buy that, it is the cheapest you can get. And it's all like USDA organic, everything else, but it's because it's their store brand. They keep the price low enough so it's competitive. You know, so it's starting to turn. Like it's weird, but like the price of everything is just crazy right now.
And I think that that's why there's a demonization of forward-facing sonar as bad as it is. But I have this theory, and I think I talked about this maybe on with Bailey on his podcast, and the demonization of forward-facing sonar, I think, is rooted in the fact that people are getting priced out of fishing, and because they associate daddy's money and these newer, age of tournament anglers with forward-facing sonar, and they're only able, just Bobby over here just oil him up, Dana. Anyway, if you got that UFC reference, give me a thumbs up. But anyway, but like so in those two, like the daddy's money, like brand new Icon boats, you know what I'm talking about. No, I'm just kidding.
Yep.
But like daddy's money, forward facing sonar, like brand new boats,
wifey's money.
Yeah, that's right. And all of that, and then those kids doing well because of forward facing sonar. When in reality, those kids have been blessed to be able to fish from the time that they were 5 years old all the way to now, and all they've ever known is forward facing sonar. And so they're really good with it, and they just go win.
For sure.
But the demonization of that technology comes from the fact that everything is expensive. But we as people have to find a common enemy to rally behind and to fight against. And forward-facing sonar is that enemy. And I think a lot of that is bred from social media culture, things that are said on social media, all of that stuff. But still, that's the enemy that we fight against. You know what I mean? And so it's very interesting. I don't know. That's kind of my perception of what the reality of fishing is right now, bass fishing specific industry kind of side of things. Yeah. We're in a weird spot, guys. I mean, because like when you go to the grocery store and you spend $500 on what used to be $200 worth of groceries, and then you also want to try to take your kids fishing on the weekend, but it's $100 to fill up your truck, it's $100 to fill up your boat, and then you've already bought $500 worth of tackle that you're going to break off.
For sure.
Because it is the reality of fishing. I mean, by the end of the day, you're sitting there going, this was $1,000 trip. Yeah, it literally used to cost me $100.
Yep.
Yeah, and we got skunked. Yeah, like used to people spent $1,000 in a quarter of fishing.
Oh yeah,
now there's $1,000 in 2 weeks of fishing.
Oh yeah, easily. It goes so fast.
A different world. Yeah,
and it's funny too. Like I mean, we talk budget. Like we brought a segment into the show called "Broke on the Boat." We've only done a couple of them. Like we've talked about buying situations when it comes to kayaks or when it comes to different elements and stuff. There are options. Like there are a lot of folks right now that look at like 86ing like all of the folks on social media that are very vocal about like, it's too expensive to fish. We're pricing our side off on whatever. Can you believe this is $190 bass boat? Like those things exist. You know what I mean? But like the vast majority of anglers out there, just based on the sale of fishing licenses alone, right? We don't need bass boats. We're not. Nope. We don't need those, and that was one of the things that led me to the decision to purchase the boat that I purchased, was because I could get into this boat for the brand new, for a third of the price. It doesn't have a 250 horsepower outboard on it. No. Do I need to go that fast? No. It's probably a better idea if I can't, to be perfectly honest with you. There are other options. Like what I think is crazy. I think the used market is stupid these days.
It's ridiculous.
It's insane. Like these people
I sold my boat at 4 years old for $1,000 more than I bought it.
Isn't that wild, Alex? Like,
stupid, dude.
It's
stupid. Yeah.
And that's the boat I just traded in. They have it, the Skeeter, 22 Skeeter. They have it listed right now for $1,000 less than what I paid for it 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. But you're right. I think they're in South Detroit fishing, there's a point at which you just got to bow out on it. And the reason I bring all this up is because culture is on social media, and social media culture wants to find that common enemy. Yeah. But I think all of us as people have just got to and this is what I tell people all the time, find your budget. Live within your budget.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, I'm not financially responsible for the decisions that you make. I know how I live. You guys know how you live.
For sure.
But like, we can't affect each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, it's just, I don't know. I'm just trying to be so conscientious of people's pocketbooks because I am very blessed to be able to get all the rods and reels I want, all the baits I want.
Yep.
I don't even think about price point anymore, but I still try to shop in a way that I would buy because like, it's just not. It's a sucky world to already live in with the price of things, and I don't want fishing to be a obstacle in someone's way to go enjoy the outdoors. I want it to be easily accessible, and I think we're in a industry right now where, for like a while, we were going towards that like really affordable route, and I feel like we just taken like a drastic right turn back to like how expensive can we make shit?
Oh
And
yeah,
it's like, let's pull the reins back here a little bit, people.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts.
Unfortunately, it's not to get go on a tangent with that. We are under this fishing is unfortunately under the umbrella of capitalism as a whole, and
of course.
everything's going up, and we're just like, we're seeing it just like, because I have friends that, have other hobbies and stuff, and they talk about how all that shit's expensive, and it's like, it's wild. It's wild. It's a conversation we could have for hours and hours.
Oh yeah.
At least we don't play golf, boys. That's all I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
I used to. Yeah.
Golf's rough. Hey, listen. Now, speaking of something that is expensive, but I think is worth every damn penny that was released at ICAST, and I think this one slipped right under the radar. But
cocaine?
This is probably
Okay.
You can resell it too. Heroin, if you get the right stuff. Make sure it's brown. Anyway. No, this slipped right under the radar, and I think this is probably the best thing that I saw at ICAST as far as a release is BKK's OCD tackle storage system fully loaded.
Oh, the hooks, right?
$300.
Yeah.
270 individual hooks. It is every damn hook that you could ever need.
Oh yeah.
To go any kind of fishing with, like obviously trout and all, you need some of that, but like as far as like any freshwater application, like it's in there. And honestly, for $300, buy that at the beginning of the year. I can promise you're going to spend more than $300 on hooks throughout the year, but you buy that thing and like you're good to go.
That's like trebles and everything.
Yeah, so it's got, let me see here. It's got number 2, 4, 5, 6, and 8 size trebles. It has number 1, 2, and 4 size drop shots, 1/0 drop shots, 2/0 drop shots, number 1, 2, 1/0, 2/0, and 3/0 long shank drop shots. It has their Permalock hook, which is a swim bait style hook. It's got those in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5/0. The Permalock weighted hooks in 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5/0. It has offset worm hooks in 2, 1, 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0, 6/0. It has heavy cover flipping hooks, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0. It has offset worm hooks, EWG, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, 5/0, 6/0. It has offset worm round bends, 1/0, 1/0, 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0. And then it has their brand new armor point hooks in there as well as an extra. And there's like, I forgot what it said. I think there's like 9 of each hook or something like that. It's incredible.
That's why I saw. I think they didn't do with their original release. I don't think they kind of did themselves justice with the photos and kind of the explanation. But once you really look into it, you're like, this. I mean, just the way that they labeled everything and how it's just. And they were able to put it in such a small compact. I think it's a 3600 size box.
Yes.
It's just. It's something I might just. Because I'm always struggling with like how I, have my hooks stored and everything, and I'm always switching it because like my OCD kind of kicks in. So this might be something I have to invest. I don't have any history with BKK hooks.
Dude, so BKK,
they get the Binia seal of approval.
BKK stands for Black King Kong. That's not a joke. It's from back in the day. So they were an OEM for Owner and Gamakatsu for years.
Okay.
I believe they're still an OEM for Owner, if I'm not mistaken, because they make their treble hook they have a treble hook that is essentially an Owner stinger, is what it is.
Gotcha.
They were a Chinese production company. They only did stuff in China. They only OEM'd, and then 2 years ago, they we're just like, hey, we're just going to slap the BKK logo on hooks, bring them to America, and create our own brand, and just take our own swath of this industry back and quit producing for all the rest of these companies. And that's exactly what they did. And so, I like BKK. Damn good hooks. From everything I messed around with them, they're sticky, they're sharp, they get the job done. I mean, like, I've not had any issues with them. And so, I dig it.
Yeah. And honestly, if you, I mean, you're the one who's going to be resupplying this box. So it's half of that is just the organization you get with this. So
I was just going to say, I think,
if you're resupplying it, just put in something different.
Yeah. Half of it right there is, like you said, Joe, the organization of it. If most people could probably buy this one time and refill what they're using, because if you're throwing a bunch of these different drop shot hooks, you probably I know I throw 2 different size drop shot hooks, a small one and a big one. You know what I mean? Like, I have my favorites, but to have that full spectrum, what's nice is that if you find yourself in a situation where you're like, oh, I'm out of these hooks, I need more. Well, go a size up or size down. You have the wiggle room, and you can just refill it as you need it.
Yep.
It's freaking genius.
Dude, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's just a genius way to go. Like, that to me, that is making fishing affordable. And here's the deal. Like, here's what you got to consider. You get all of those hooks in a normal, like, let's say it's a Busby or even a Plano.
Yep.
Yeah.
A normal, like, hook box with not that many containers inside of it is $53.
Yep.
I mean, so think about that. So you're already $55 in. You've not bought a single hook yet.
Hook,
a single hook. Now you get that plus all the organizations. All the stickers are already labeled. Everything. It comes ready to just like go. I don't. To me, for $300, it's worth that. $300 is like.
I agree.
That's one of those, like, almost for like somebody that would be like, "Hey, Alex, what kind of hooks do I need?" I'd be like, "Save up $300, buy this right here, and it's got everything." And then too, like you said, Bobby, there's a certain size you like.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, let's say you discover that certain size that you like. But if you've got all of these extras, you've got all of these backups, you can experiment with a bunch of different stuff. But if you do use through all of your 1/0s, that's my go-to 1/0, wacky rig hook.
Yep.
Go through all my 1/0s, I can promise you a $9 pack of 24 Gamakatsu, the ones that are like, my kind of backups to my owners, which are the ones I really like. Throw them in there and you're good to go, and you've still got your storage solution there. I mean, I don't know. I like that one. That one was cool to me.
That's pretty slick.
I like that.
I like that, man. I like that a lot. Your favorite bait of the entire show, Alex? I saw a little bit about this. Walk us through this craw.
Yeah, the clatter craw. So
that's what it is.
The clatter craw. Clatter craw. Yeah, we I was disappointed we didn't put this one as best of show in the freshwater category. I'll be totally honest with you. It kind of slid under the radar, but essentially what it is it's a pre-rigged craw style bait, hyper realistic shape. Like when you think about it looking like a craw, it looks just like a crawdad. We literally molded a dead crawdad to get the shape out of this thing.
Yep.
It's pre-rigged. It's kind of takes off of the Agent E, which is that kind of pre-rigged jig style with the fluorocarbon weed guard on it.
Yep.
I mean, a 1/2 ounce. But what makes them really, really cool is that Kyle and the guys over at Spirit Lake figured out how to mold in these small plastic discs into the claws.
Looking at it right now.
Yeah, those small plastic discs have they have rattles in them. And so, it's one of those things that for me, I've not seen that. And when I got to kind of test it and use it before it hit the market and we were talking about it, I was telling the guys, I was like, I've not seen anything like this. I think this is going to be really different, really cool. And it's going to be something that like at the end of the summer, like we're at right now, when they've seen 1,000 flipping baits and 1,000 jigs, you're going to be able to go flip with that thing and just show them a little something different. Yeah. And that's what I've been doing. But what's really cool about it is it's not just made for flipping. It's made for dragging. It's made for, casting. It's made for everything. And that's kind of one of the things that I think is going to be really cool is for like a newer angler. This allows them to go buy something that's already pre-rigged.
Yes.
It's as weedless as it can be without, obviously, I mean, you got to be careful. You can't just drag it through like grass and all that directly because it does have an exposed hook with the fluorocarbon weed guard. But it allows a brand new angler to have something that is super diverse. And then what's really cool in this one was kind of something that we were going to keep hush hush, but we decided to let everybody in on the secret. They worked with a PhD in crawfish.
What?
And that PhD in crawfish supplied them with images of crawfish from all across the country directly after they molted. And so all the colors that this crawl comes in are colors that actual crawfish all across the country look like when they molt.
Interesting.
Yep.
That is nice.
Yeah. So very cool, very different. Just something I think is going to be a different take on some. There's a billion crawl baits. And this is one of those things we always say, a jig's a jig's a jig, a crawl's a crawl's a crawl, worm's a worm's a worm.
Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes it's not. And I think with this one, we've actually got something just a little bit different here.
That's
so
pretty
I'm
slick.
excited about it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I like to throw a Nico rod, like a chigger crawl, with a nail weight at the bottom and, just kind of drag it along like rocky surfaces. Gets hung up all the time. I know this is a little bit heavier, which isn't a bad thing, but I'm going to try it. I'm down. Yeah.
I think you like it. I really do.
Yeah.
I've been digging it. I think it's fun. I mean, I've been pitching and flipping it, and that's where I've been having a ton of fun with it because it's just, again, it's something different. It's just something slightly different. And going back to knowing bass, that was one of the things that a bass will attack novelty. Straight up.
Yeah.
If they've never seen it before and it's a new novel thing, they will attack novelty. And I think that's what we're going to be able to give these fish for a good little while before this thing gains popularity and people start buying and catching fish on it. So as soon as they're ready, they should be available like this late fall, around that time frame. So
That's awesome.
As soon as they're available, gotta grab some and check them out.
Hell yeah, baby. I'm into it. I'm friggin' into it.
Gang.
Let's take a quick break, guys. We're going to circle around. We have not just one, but we have 2 FTGs this week. And then we're going to go and have a conversation regarding, it seems as if all of a sudden this year, there are a lot of stories coming out about state records being broken with a different variety of species of fish. And we're going to talk about what that's all about, which is going to be kind of interesting. We'll see you guys in just about 2 minutes with more Jigs and Bigs right after this. Jigs and Bigs wants to take a moment to say thank you to our partners for helping us continue to push the limits of our fishing adventures and bring you amazing long-form podcast content. We need to thank Dark Horse Tackle, Omnia Fishing, A-Bay Lure, The Bay House, and The Ship Motel. We can't forget about Three Bells Outfitters, Torres Sunglasses, and of course, Reaction Tackle. Be sure to check the description of this podcast for any associated affiliate links or promo codes they've generously provided our listening audience. Again, we cannot thank our partners enough for their support. Please consider supporting them and supporting the show in the same process. Thanks. Hey, you. Yeah, you. The one with the impeccable taste in fishing podcasts. Bobby Roast Beef here with a little call to action for all Jigs and Bigs listeners. We're opening up our hotline to you. Now you can call us to sound off about almost anything at 413-324-8519. Want to submit someone for our FTG segment? Call us at 413-324-8519. Care to maybe suggest a topic for just the tip or bait of the week? Call us at 413-324-8519. Maybe you just want to give us or anyone else a little shout out on the show, or you want to suggest a guest for the beef seat. You guessed it. Call us at 413-324-8519. The Jigs and Bigs hotline is there for you to leave a message with us 24/7. Just call 413-324-8519. Also, you can check that number in the notes of this podcast. gotta tell you guys, like, this is a crazy episode right here. It's a little bit more unstructured, but I think this is really, really great. We are the one segment that we are not throwing out here just because it's been so loaded with good feedback and content from all the listeners is the FTG segment this week. And we have not just one, but we have two. And this first one, we kind of talked a little bit about it. I think during the recording of last week's show, we had Charlie Moore on. During the recording of that show, we had kind of discussed something that was in the Dark Horse family of, what's the right word I'm looking for? Travesty? If I'm being honest. Let's go ahead and we're going to hear from Dave Urkey on this one. Let's see what Dave has to say.
Bobby, Joe, it's Dave. I have a submission for the FTG. I submit myself. As much as I hate to say it, I almost choked on my own words. So my wife is a thoughtful, caring, wonderful individual who puts effort into everything she does, including other people's birthdays. So when her birthday comes around, she wants it to be a real big deal. I am not the best birthday celebrator. And so when she's been hinting at me for months for, pedicures and haircuts and clothes and this, that, and the other, the only thing I could think of to get her was a ceiling fan because she complains about how loud her ceiling fan is. And so for her birthday, she got a ceiling fan instead of clothes and pedicures and all that kind of good stuff. And then to top it all off, I got her ice cream and cake, forgetting that she started her ultra marathon diet, which means no ice cream and no cake, because I am that guy. Fuck that guy. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay, Dave. So Dave Urkey is the Wolf of Walmart on Instagram. I don't know if you've come across Dave's stuff, but
yes. He's the man. I like him. He sends me messages all the time. He's my dude. We're supposed to go fishing here soon, so he's the dude.
He's a great dude. He really is. He's as genuine as they got.
Yeah,
and
he really is.
He's just the best. That's brutal, and I give him a lot of credit for phoning it in on and calling himself out on it, because it was a fumble. He fumbled the ball right there. He really did.
It was funny. He was like texting me live action, like when it was going down. I was like,
"That's right."
I was like, "What'd you do?" I was like, and he told me, I was like, "Oh, dude, you fucked up." He's like, "Really?" I was like, "Oh yeah."
I will say this. I after listening to the message, it came up. I had a conversation with my wife. This is a couple weeks ago. And something was like, it's not like the big things in a relationship that really kind of people remember. It's like, what was the reel? She sent it to me, and it was buy them their favorite snack. And and the reason why I say that, it's like there was a conversation about like relationships, and it was the person saying it was like, it's not about like, oh, well, they were always, good to me. They didn't cheat on me, or they didn't do this. The things that they really remember are like, did you remember them with the little detail? Like I know you love peanut M&Ms, and I brought them home for you because I was out late with the boys or whatever, and here you go, or something like that. It's those little tiny details. So in a way, I kind of think big picture, Dave, I think she's going to appreciate that ceiling fan. I think that she is. You damn well better. I know he's a handy guy. He's always going to have no problem. You better install that thing. Install the fuck out of that thing. So it's as seamless to use. But I think big picture, she's going to appreciate it. It might have been not the best move from the get. You know what I mean? But I think there was one year my dad bought my mom like a vacuum for Christmas. And I
vacuum?
Yeah, I think so. He might have done it as a joke. But I don't think it was very funny, if I remember.
I know that I've entered the age that, like, if someone bought me a vacuum, I would probably be very appreciative of it.
You do get to a certain point where it's just like, oh, this is great. I need this.
My mother bought me a lithium-powered, like small hand blower, and like it is the greatest little tool for when the garage needs to be blown out. It's got the little hand blower. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I love it. But anyway,
I do. I think big picture. I think Dave, it's going to be all right. The cake and ice cream. Let's be honest. That was rough. That's rough.
Don't let him fool you. He's the one who ate it.
Oh, hell
if
yeah,
I would just freeze it until the carbo load before the ultra marathon.
That's just gonna need it. There you go.
Load, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's a great way of looking at it. Yeah, Binya says, Binya knows the trick. Buy her tacos and call her pretty.
Pretty, that's right. Amen, brother.
Name of the game, bud. Name of the game.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
This one is kind of fishy, this next FTG. And this one comes in, it's funny, Tim Jakes had reached out. Every time he's had an FTG this year, he's like, Bobby, what's that number again? He actually put the FTG number in his phone, the hotline number in his phone, because he's like, I feel like I'm calling this so much it needs to be this way. So let's hear from topless Timmy Jakes and see what he has to say.
So, Tim Jakes here. Got another edition of boat launch bullshit. So kind of set it up at a lake on the border of Massachusetts and New Hampshire. It's a private launch, single lane launch, and it's at a little marina convenience store. We come in at the end of the day fishing. We're third in line. There's a pontoon boat behind a pleasure boat. Pleasure boat comes up to the dock and pulls into the slip right next to the launch, which happens to be the gassing up slip. Pontoon guy says, hey, I need to go there. Pleasure boat guy says, well, we got to go get beer. Pontoon boat guy says, well, I'm getting gas, so you need to move. Pleasure boat guy proceeds to pull into the launch area, tie up his boat, look behind me, at me, and say, don't worry, we'll be about 5 minutes. We got to go get beer, and we have about 6 people, so you'll have to wait.
Wow.
My partner has backed his trailer down the launch, waiting for him. 5 minutes turns to 15 minutes. Guy comes out, looks around, jumps in the boat at his leisure, backs out, waves to me like he's thanking me. As I shake my head, he looks at me and says, don't blame me, blame the pontoon guy. Dude, there were slips available further down that you could have freaking put your boat so somebody can launch and trailer. But no, you had to make people wait just so you could get beer. Douche nozzle. Thanks, guys.
And just to put a little bit of like perspective on this, Tim is the biggest beer guy I know. Like when it comes to like being a beer geek, like he is like, oh my God, like he brews his own, like, so he can appreciate somebody going like, we need beer. You know what I'm saying? But like, I ran into something similar with Joe. These two guys pulling a bayliner out of one of I was at Enoda, and we're in, there's 2 lanes there. They were in one, and there was a boat tied off on the other dock, so I wasn't about to slip in and try and put my boat in there. I'm sitting in my parking space, as you should be, waiting for these guys to move, and they're sitting there, and they're like putting all the straps on, they're pulling plugs, they're draining right there, all this shit. And when I had gotten out of my boat and tied off to the dock and I walked up, I made some kind of comment to the guys. I was like, pretty crazy out there, huh? And he was like, yeah. He's like, he didn't do too bad for his first time. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. I'm like, what is even happening here? They were there and I walked out. I walked back to them and I was like, you guys want to pull up and do that over here so that people can launch their boats? Now there's a line forming of people that want to drop in. I got in there quick and just got the hell out. I was like, dude, we'll rig up this way. We'll get everything all squared away. But I'm like, people just don't understand. You know what I mean?
Listen, way nicer than me because I'd have walked over there with a pair of scissors or a knife.
I was thinking the same thing.
Off. Like I've told people get off the ramp before. Like I pull up to a ramp with people sitting there on it or they're letting their kids swim on it or whatever it is. I tell them get out of my way, like just straight up because It's against the law. Like, and I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be the FTG of the week, but like I will be, because like that's against the law to block the public access that people are using to put their boats in at. Like, don't be that asshole, because it just ruins it for everybody else.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel
and learn how to drive your boat, because that's the biggest thing for me. Is like, there are people who get their boat out once a year. And they drive it once or twice a year.
Then,
you know how many hundreds of hours I've logged in the seat of a bass boat or in any kind of boat?
Oh,
and like,
sure.
I know how to drive. There are people who don't, and it's very dangerous when you're in a 40-foot cabin cruiser and you don't know how to drive your. So there are boat docks around me, and when I say boat docks, these are ginormous, like marina boat docks with giant boats in them. That have people that their job all day long is to park and pull out people's boats because they cannot park and pull out their own boats.
Yeah.
That's wild to me.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to trust them with that boat on open water.
Yeah, that same person, you're going to give them something that doesn't have brakes. You know what I mean? And you're like, it's just, it is crazy, man. Binya says he nails it. He goes, boat ramp ethics are not as common, and it causes a lot of fistfights here in Vermont. There's a couple of YouTube channels that specifically cover boat launch, like bullshittery. And I love them. I love them. Like at the end of the night, oh man, they're so funny.
That's funny. That's also one of my, like, all right, go to bed. I'm going to watch my phone for a minute before I fall asleep. And that's like one of those things. That and like Qualified Captain, man. I love watching that shit.
So good.
Yeah. What? Hold on a second. Benny goes, I had a wife one day come up to me and yell, if you don't back this boat up for him, I'm divorcing him. Wow.
Oh, I had people that are like, hey man, can you back my boat in for me?
All
the time.
Yeah, I've heard that before. Yeah, people will ask all the time, and I'm like, man, take it to a big, like a dead mall and just learn. You know, like put it between the lines. You know, it's like it's crazy and it's intimidating. Like I remember, like, you know, when you've got a bunch of people there, you're trying to drop this boat into the water as quickly as you can. Like, you see people that are just like, oh, I forgot to put the car in park or put my e-brake on, and the car backs right in, and you're just like, take a deep breath. Everybody breathe. All right.
It's all about a system. It's a system. Like, I have a system. Like, and it's just like, literally, my system is unhook so I've got obviously like my ratchet strap in the front, and then I've got a safety tether just in case something were to go bad on the interstate.
Exactly.
Unhook my safety tether, go to the back, unhook my 2 tie downs in the back. I take off the left motor clip, and then I take off my motor tote, and then my right motor clip. I put those in my thing. I lean in, I turn my power on. Like, it's the same thing. I go back around to the driver's side, I bend down, I put my plug in, I make sure everything's good, walk up to the front, back my boat down. I mean, like, like people just get out there and, like, again, where you don't do it every day, you don't have the process in place. And I get it. There's people, you know, you're just getting your boat out for the season or whatever, but please just practice a little bit. Like, just take a little bit, like literally 5 hours before you go to the boat ramp, and just practice a little bit. It just takes a little bit.
Yeah. It's absolutely true. Lockwood chimes in. I love that Lockwood's in here. He goes, I knew a guy who would sit at Sandy Point State Park and has a huge boat landing, 6 slips, and people would pay him to back in their trailers and unload and load their boats. But he goes,
I need to do that on the weekends to make extra money.
Dude, that could be the move, man. It really could be.
Sit there with a sign, a cooler full of drinks, and just be like, and they have another cooler where the waters are $6 a piece.
Oh, 100%.
And then just have a sign that says, I'll back your trailer in for $10. Like,
I think it's so funny. Binya says, he goes, personally, I think backing a trailer in is better skill than parallel parking and should be taught in driver's ed. It is in Massachusetts. Backing up a trailer, it is. Yeah, well, at least when I was, back when I was in driver's ed, it is. And it's confusing.
We didn't do
as shit.
it.
Yeah, no, you didn't do it. Yeah,
no, I didn't know that. That's awesome. They definitely don't do it now.
Yeah, I think it's less common now because they just look at it as really who's going to be backing up a trailer in this 100% need to. And I can remember I was just like, I'm like, oh, so you mean I turn this way? I go, oh, or I can grab 6 o'clock. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that works too. You know, it's crazy, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
So let's move on and talk about state records that have been broken. I mean, we only started with the fishing headlines segment of the show. When was this, Joe? In like March or April?
Yeah, only a few months ago.
Yeah, it was only a few months ago, and it seems like we've had maybe a half dozen different stories that have come up about this species of fish in this state broken. You know, and it's crazy. I remember there was that one with the girl that caught that giant catfish, right?
Yep.
I forget if it was a blue or what it was. No, I think it was a flathead.
Yeah, it's funny because, like, you know, when I started doing the headlines, I'm thinking like, and it wasn't like the first week. It was like the second or third week I did it. I saw one of those. I was like, oh, this is a cool thing to report. Like in my mind, I'm thinking like, I won't get these very often. So I got to definitely like talk about this. And then it was like, I would see 2 or 3 every week at different states, different stuff getting,
That's pretty good. I saw that.
That's fucking good.
Yeah. Like Bradley said back when I was in driver's ed, it was hard to get the horses to walk backwards. Hell yeah. I just wonder, do the Amish take driver's ed? All right, going with your story anyway.
So I brought up basically I brought up the Bobby the other day. I go, hey man, I think I have a pretty good like topic just to have a conversation about. I was like, it just seems as though there are so many records being broken, whether it's state. I mean, there's world records being broken, whether it's catch and release, catch and keep, all that stuff. And it's just, I mean, I just briefly browse like back in some of the channels in that I get a lot of my news stuff from, and just from, I think it was March or April, there was like 15 and I stopped counting. So basically, you know, the intent was, let's have a conversation and see why we think that is, whether it's, you know, what your opinion is, what, you know, Alex, Bobby, myself, as to why this is happening. Is it just because it's more social media presence? Or, you know, and these fish are typically getting caught every year? Like, what is it? Let's talk about it.
So I have a theory, and this comes from my mass media theory, broadcasting school and college, all that stuff. I wonder. I always ask myself, is it real? Like, is this something that's like actually like a trend? And I think because it's state records, like, yes, you could argue that it is. Or is it that just we're hearing about it more often? Like, is the interest there somehow? And I think both things are fascinating. You know.
Yeah.
But like, what is it really? And I went and I just to throw a little bit of, so I did a search. I tried to find a list of freshwater fish state records that have been broken in 2024, and it was just, I couldn't come up with any one definitive anything. So I'm using Google. I put the term 2024, the question 2024 broken state records freshwater fish, and I searched. And, you know, of course, because of my location, I got a bunch of Massachusetts stuff in here, but there's other stuff in here. New York State Development, what was it? Oh, in Lake Champlain in New York. DEC announces a 15-pound, 14-ounce long-nosed gar broke the state record. That was in July of this year.
I was just going to say, that was just recent. I just saw that recently.
That was just...
So New York, I have a whole theory on. Remind me about New York when we get to that.
All right.
I have a whole theory on that. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
Speaking of, this one's from Michigan. Accomplished Michigan angler breaks state record with a white perch weighing 2 pounds, 5.92 ounces, measuring 16 and a quarter inches. State record. That was in May of this year. That's the long-nosed gar one. Georgia records... what was it? Jamie Boyette of Portal, Georgia, pulled in a spotted sunfish weighing 12 ounces. This is a New England one. The story is from WFSB. It's carp, a new state record. Came in at, what was it, 45 pounds? Something like that. Like, just huge. Of course, you know, we talked about the lake trout that was in Wachusett Reservoir. And ironically, Becca had just sent me that on TikTok. Was it last night or the night before? And I was, I told her, I was like, oh yeah, we talked about this when it happened. And I was like, well, that must have only happened in April because they have like a partial season for the year. And I think it kicks off like mid-April. And this was like, was it a world record, that one, Joe? Or was it a state record? It was definitely a state record.
State. It was state.
I don't know if it was a world
Yeah,
record.
Yeah. No.
This fish ate like a half-ounce black and blue jig.
Damn.
Yeah.
Lake trout are just insane.
Eating a jig.
Yeah. And it's wild. What do you think, Alex? Like, what's your take on it?
So I think so this year specifically, we've had a lot of exceptional, big macro level events that have taken place that I think that have helped to break a lot of records. Most of the southern states, the northern southern states, meaning like Tennessee, North Georgia, North Alabama, North Carolina, South Carolina, kind of a swath up through the Midwest, all had a cicada hatch. So the carp record, the carp record was going to fall. It just had to happen because those carp eat those cicadas. And so you're going to see carp that you've never seen before, and you're going to have a chance to be able to catch those carp in a way you've never been able to catch them before, and won't be able to catch them again for 17, 18 years, whatever it is.
Right. And
so I think that plays into that. Now, as far as the North goes, and we just had the New York state record largemouth bass broken.
Yep. That was big.
And so it's 12 pounds and some change.
Not to cut you off, Alex. Can I tell a quick story about that fish?
100%.
So I have a friend that was there for that. That was at that tournament.
That's awesome.
So nothing against this guy, because the guy that caught that, because if I'm catching fish like that, let me back up. So this was practice that he caught this fish. Apparently, he stayed in that spot, locked in that spot, and caught like a 7 and a 6 in that same spot that same day.
I heard this,
which is insane, but definitely blew up his spot for the tournament.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
I heard that the other day, so I had to share that.
Yeah. But anyway, to keep going there, the North as a whole had an exceptionally warm year. Mm-hmm. A lot of the lakes never froze, but it did get cold enough to have these shad die-offs, but not cold enough to send these fish into a state of suspended animation like they normally are when it gets that cold.
Right.
State record for Tennessee, the 15-pound largemouth, it was broken on a really cold year when we had a shad kill. And so there's something about that exceptionally cold weather that's cold enough to maybe freeze the backs of the pockets, and it's cold enough to kill the smaller species of fish, and the correlation between that and giant fish being caught and giant fish showing up. And so I think that there's something there.
Yeah.
I think that just the exceptionality of not only the hatches that we've had, the weather that we've had, and like we look here in Tennessee, like we had a very, very cool summer up to the month of June. And like normally by the second week of May, it's so hot down here you can't breathe. But I mean, until the second week of June, and we were having days. I mean, the first week of June, me and my buddy went fishing, and we're on a shad spawn bite that normally is over in the second week of May, and we were wearing hoodies and long pants because it was 45 degrees that morning.
Yeah.
So the North had an exceptionally warm winter. We had an exceptionally cold winter with an exceptionally cold spring, where they had an exceptionally warm spring.
Yeah.
You had this flip-flop effect, and I just think these giant macro, things with the weather, with hatches, with water temperatures, with just everything that's going on, I think that all of those things, again, kind of going back to what I talked about earlier, they're novelty.
Yeah.
And bass feed on novelty.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if it's novelty as far as bait, novelty as far as a hatch, novelty as far as temperature, novelty. And like the guy, before he broke the state record in Cayuga, there was a tornado touchdown like the day before that.
That's right.
So not only do you've got the whole macro trend of this giant weather pattern that has been a whole year's worth, then you got a micro trend, which is this crazy tornado thunderstorm that you don't normally have in New York. Both of these things being a novelty in this bass's existence. This bass may have lived its whole life and never seen weather like this.
Yeah.
And this novelty event happens, and this bass comes, out of 35 foot of water where it's lived in its whole entire life, and decides, I'm going to eat everything that moves, including that guy's lure, and then you break the state record.
Yeah.
And same thing happened with the Tennessee state records, and and even me, I almost broke the Tennessee state record for spotted bass. I was a half pound off.
No shit.
And I did it in a place where they started stocking trout. a new novelty food source that these bass had never seen before and never eaten before, and it concentrated a large population of very, very large spotted bass into a particular area.
Yeah.
And literally, if that bass hadn't have spit up that trout that it had ate when I hooked it, I would have broke the state record. And I wouldn't have known that there was trout in there either. Yeah. Like, because it spit up about an 8-ounce trout. And so not only would I have not known there was trout in there, and then not only that's what made me look at stock trout or trout stocking reports, but that's also an exceptional novelty event that happened that has never happened before. I think those were the things that break records, or just novelty events.
Yeah. And it's like we hear it all the time. You know, bass and most predator fish are opportunistic feeders. Like if they have the opportunity, they're going to feed. And I think you hit the nail on the head where you're like, these are things that are just happening. Like if there's all of a sudden you have a body of water that's getting stocked, well, of course, these bass are going to they're going to feed up when they have the opportunity. You lay in a cooler spring, basically an elongated pre-spawn window, and they're just feeding and feeding and feeding. And it's funny, like you mentioned, Alex, the Tennessee state record is what, 15-pound largemouth? So is the Massachusetts one.
It's crazy.
And you know why? It was in Cape Cod where there's a herring run. Opportunistic feeding. Like that's why. There's novelty. Novelty. Stuff that you're not going to get in, more inland this way. You're not going to get that herring run necessarily. So it's a different forage. It's wild. Like you go out there and like you can throw lures that are like blue and chrome and they work, Yeah. Because it's matching the hatch. It's not like show them something different. It's so weird.
And people, I think we get so wrapped up all the time and that's not a 7. I called a 10 one time. Well, if you live it's like deer hunting.
Yep.
You want to kill giant deer, you go to Iowa. That's where they live.
Yeah.
You want to kill 200-inch just mammoths of deer, you go to Iowa and Saskatchewan. It's the reason all these hunting shows all take place in the same exact 5 areas.
Yep.
Now there are exceptional cases like the Sequin boys who will go to some behind some business in Georgia, but again, a very exceptional circumstance where you have a deer that's untouched by humans that's being eaten out of people's bird feeders, and they're getting big and they can. But if you want to go have the best chance to shoot giant deer, you go hunt where giant deer live. Bass, any game fish is the same exact way. I mean, I go down to OHIV in Texas. I mean, I think I saw a statistic one time that in all 50 states, Alaska excluded just because Alaska doesn't have a natural population of any sort of bass, but all 50 states, the chance of catching a largemouth bass is like less than 5% almost in all states, except for California and Texas. It's like 33% chance. That's because that's where giant bass live. You know what I mean?
That's exactly the reason why, when we do our nationwide slot limit tournament, that's exactly why we do a slot limit, is for that reason alone. Because if we just did a traditional best of 5 or best 3 or whatever the bag was going to be, we immediately give those states that have larger populations of a certain specific quality of fish, we give them the opportunity to kind of run away with it. Because if you're going to get a 6, a 7, a 10 in New England or further up north, those fish are really, really unique, and they're exceptions to the rule. So when folks, I try to tell everybody that, they're like, why do you do a slot limit? I don't understand. I'm like, because to you, going and catching an 18 is nothing. To me, going and catching an 18 is like, this is a good fish. Like there's only so many of those here.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
wild.
Yeah. And I think that's just within lies what we've seen and why records are being broken is because not only is it places that are exceptional for the size of fish that live there, but you have novelty events at a macro and micro level that have shifted the dynamics of the way bass feed, and we may never see it again, or we may see it 10 years from now, or we may see it this year again. I have no idea. Like, that's the thing, is like the predictive modeling for weather is never almost ever right. And so it's just, you got to wait till you get there and see what happens.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Hedging your bets is really what it is. And it's funny, like, you know, because we've mentioned these other species that are in there. It's all related, and to kind of oddly, in a weird way, throw this back to ICAST. I was looking at, what was it? It was an episode of Tackle Talk. And in this, there's a weird analogy I want to make. Just follow me on this. It'll kind of make sense. You know, there was an episode of Tackle Talk where Andrew Hayes was talking with Glenn Hughes, who's the ASA president. ASA heads up ICAST, all that stuff. And he said on that show, and I heard this, and I thought it was poignant, and I think I just forgot to mention it before, but he was like, fishing stuff, I'm going to word it my way. Everything that's like fishing related is important to every angler. So if there's a law that affects offshore tuna fishermen in the North Atlantic, right? Trickle down through the industry, it's going to affect the bass angler in Ohio. You know, like it might have an impact on Shimano that now has to rebudget the way that they work so that, you know, maybe they've got to cut a line of reel in order to make it work because their ability to make money in the saltwater world has been impacted. So it's like, it's one of these sort of things. And I think that it can also be related to species too, where you have these novelty items like the cicada hatch, something that's new or newly introduced, something like that. It's going to affect those other species as well. Just because of, you know, the forage, like whatever is eating those smaller bass after the spawn, like these catfish are just going to kill it. You know what I mean? These drum are stoked.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I've seen a lot this year is a ton of catfish out shallow. They're eating wacky rigs and stuff that I've not seen in years past. And I think a lot of it has to do with cicada hatches and in late shad spawns that we don't normally have because of cooler temperatures. It's keeping these large predatory fish up shallow. And I think that is, in a lot of the places that I normally fish and like to fish where I catch big fish, they're pushing big fish out. And so I'm not having that chance to catch those bigger than average fish that I normally would because of and that's just something I think as anglers, we all have to consider is like, there are so many macro level effects on bass fishing that we just go out there and we go, man, the damn fish ain't biting today. When in reality, no, they're biting somewhere, but it's nothing that you did wrong. That's something that, again, that Knowing Bass, the book that I'm reading, like the very beginning, like literally the intro to the book, Dr. Jones pretty much breaks it down like you are fishing for a creature that is just totally outside of your control. It is literally the game of luck of game of lucks. It is gambling at its best when you go out there and try to catch a fish because you cannot control that creature. You can put every skill you want into it, but at the end of the day, you cannot control that creature, and there's so many other factors that do.
Yeah, one tiny variable can be the difference between success and frustration, you know?
Exactly.
It's crazy. Yeah. And that's why you got to love it. That's why I've been saying this forever since we started the show. Fishing to me is so magical because it's the only thing in life that is equal, that I can think of off the top of my head, that it's equal parts science and art. You know, you put those two things together. Oh my God, it's wild.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. Cool. Dude, fun. That's why fishing is the greatest job in the world for me. Like, because I get to just go figure it out. Like, it's so cool.
That's freaking awesome, dude. Alex, it is so good to have you back on. The listeners, they love you, and this is fantastic. Like, I love this. We got to do more of this shit. You know what I mean?
Dude, anytime. Listen, hit me up, bro. I will talk fishing any day of the week with you guys. I absolutely love this.
Hell yeah. Take the format, freaking put it off to the side, mix it up, and maybe,
Hell yeah.
And we've talked about doing some roundtables before. Like, I know we've teased it a bunch about doing like a technology roundtable, but I think there's lots of opportunity for shit that we could do and keep it really interesting.
Yeah, I think because those are the things that help to not only inform, but also like calm down some people, like especially the technology front. It's like just hearing a perspective sometimes can help, like, dampen the fire just a little bit, Yep.
So,
and I think that may be a factor too. I mean, with records, I think we're going to see more records fall because technology and the advances of technology inevitably, I mean, we're able to see fish we've never seen. Oh,
sure.
do you guys want to hear about rumored what is coming?
Yes. I gotta know.
Yeah. So this is like nothing like that I'm going to get in trouble for. This is literally totally rumor, but it is a very plausible rumor to say the least.
Okay.
From what I'm hearing, Garmin has been able. Okay, so let me back up a little bit with Garmin in the first place. Garmin gets all their money not from bass fishing at all. LiveScope makes them barely any money whatsoever.
Yeah.
It makes them enough money that it's worth keeping it in their repertoire of items that they have. Garmin makes almost all of their money from military contracts.
Mm-hmm.
They're a military contracted company. The DOE and the DOD work with Garmin to develop things to put on warships and in submarines to make us better at killing the enemy. That is what Garmin is designed for. Now, that being said, you know, a fun story, a little side tangent here, fun story of mine. When Panoptics first came out, I was trying to explain it to a guy I went to college with that was a former Navy, you know, seaman.
Mm-hmm.
And he like looked at me and he was like, yeah, we had that on the destroyer like 5 years ago. It's not new technology. And it was in that moment I realized, like, oh my God, Garmin has crap that we will probably see 15 years from now that's going to blow up. God, I'm about to sneeze again. Nope, it went away. All right. Blue elephants. But anyway, so all that's fast forward just a little bit.
Yeah.
Here we are, 2024. So realizing that LiveScope, any iteration of LiveScope, everything that we see to this point is essentially just a micro version of a larger piece of technology that probably at one point or another lived on a Navy ship that helped us to find the enemy.
Yeah.
Apparently, Garmin has, at some point in their development process, figured out how to make Garmin LiveScope 360.
I fucking knew it.
It is a 360 constant live image of what's around you at any given time. Now, that's the rumor. I have, again, this is coming from people that I know that are inside the industry that keep their finger on the pulse of all these things. But that's nothing that's going to get me in trouble. At least I hope not. But like, that's what I'm hearing is that it's 360 LiveScope technology. So, I don't even understand how the hell that would work, but that's what they say it is.
My head immediately goes to like those Insta 360 style cameras that are recording 360 degrees around at all times. Yeah. And then within the control itself, you can, you know, whatever happens, you can go and look around. This must mean it's not a turning unit at all. What you're doing is moving the software. So you don't.
Well, and what I've also heard is to go with that 360 technology. We're already leaning into augmented reality.
I was going to say AI, yeah.
Augmented reality. So apparently there is a headset that is being developed in conjunction with 360 Live that a person can put on this headset, see the water around them, and be able to turn their head and in live time be able to see the fish that are swimming around them.
That's crazy.
I can only think that maybe, like, where's it going to go from there? Like, you know, when I'm thinking of like those Gen Z folks that are out there, like, is there a live screen going to pop up with like
Skibbity toilet
or whatever it is, you know, and like,
dude, I mean, and here's my theory to kind of go on off a small tangent on technology.
Yep.
I say this, and a lot of people think I'm being hyperbolic. Yeah, like some sort of Oculus, some sort of something, right? But a side tangent, and people say I'm hyperbolic when I say this, but I really don't believe that I am. I think in 2 years, we live in a completely different world than we live in now because of AI technology.
Yeah.
And so I think that this is just scratching the surface of the potential of what's going to happen here and what we're going to be used to in 2025, I think by the end of 2026, legitimately, I believe this, we look back and we are not surprised by any technological advancement that we see across the board in every industry, including fishing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Yeah. I mean, you know, even if it's not as close as 26, 28, 29, 30, like I think it'll eventually we're going to hit that point. It's like a tipping point where you're just like, oh, okay, cool. I can just imagine it, and it's there or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the thing is like I don't care what your viewpoint on it is or how much you want to try to like, make it comical, but it's the reality in which we live in.
Yeah, 100%.
That's exactly it.
Happening.
Yeah.
Like it's happening, and there's nothing anybody can do about it.
Yeah.
Like that's the scary part to me. What the repercussions are, I have not a clue. I don't know. But what I'm saying is that it's happening anyway. I mean, it's like being attacked by a bear. Like literally, it's like being attacked by a bear. You can sit there and you can make up all the excuses as to why the bear is attacking you. Mm-hmm. You can come up with all the formulations you want to of how you're going to get the bear off of you, what life looks like after the bear, if there is life after the bear. Yeah. But the simple fact of the matter is, in that moment, you got a big 2,000-pound angry motherfucker on top of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yep. And the thing is, with all of this technology, VR, AI, all of this, literally the bear is on top of us now, but it's like we're in this blissful existence. Like it's not there and there's not an imminent change coming. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. I
don't know, folks. This is like one of my soapboxes I'll get on. This is the existential, like you want to talk about a true existential crisis of which we're facing.
Yep.
We're at the precipice of the changing of everything that we know. Everything.
I agree. 100%. And for what it's, I want to let everybody know there's something happening right now. I had an edible before we started, and having this conversation has been absolutely fucking awesome, Alex.
Yeah, I was going to say, we're either going to send you into a full-blown panic attack or
Bobby's putting plastic in front of his windows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's in full tin hats on already.
Tinfoil hats.
You know?
That's right, yeah. Rod's talking crazy again. Get the tinfoil hats out. Yeah,
but it's true though. It's like I think that the day is coming where, eventually we're not going to be surprised. And I think that day is actually much sooner than maybe anybody really thinks it is. Man, it's just freaking. It's bananas to me to think that we could be, dealing with. Like essentially like a Siri, like you ask your unit at the front of the boat. You're like, where are the fish? And immediately that turret moves over and it's like, okay, right there, boom.
Yeah,
and you still have to get them to bite.
Well, here's the deal, though. Here's a technology that already exists in saltwater that all of these freshwater guys just don't even know exists because we don't live in the saltwater world. Going back to what we said earlier about not living in saltwater. I don't know what company makes it. It may be Garmin, but they make a here comes another sneeze. Come on, blue elephants. Okay, it went away. There is a piece of technology that exists in the saltwater fishing world that it's essentially it's live down imaging. Mm-hmm. Once you identify like a large tuna or a large sailfish, you can essentially like click on that sailfish, put your boat into autopilot,
and it'll track
it will track and follow that fish so that you can fish for it.
No shit, I didn't know that.
Yes. Yeah. And then you hook it with your electronic reel, and the reel all connects to the whole system as well, as where it can vary the depth of the bait to keep it in front of the fish to eventually get the fish to eat, and then you reel it up with your electronic reel. That's happening in saltwater right now and is a real thing. And there are boats that have I was on a boat with autopilot 3 years ago when I broke my leg. Like literally, we were on a deep sea boat. It was a Freeman. It was a 42-foot Freeman that had autopilot. And that boat would drive itself from point A to point B. And now that same technology has been applied to literally following fish and fishing for fish.
That's crazy. It's funny. I was toying around with my drone, and on there I was amazed. There's a feature where on the screen I can tap or draw a box around an item. It could be a car, it could be me, it could be whatever. And the drone will follow within a certain range. Like, obviously it can be tricked, but that technology is something that people can afford. You know what I mean? Like when you start talking about like, oh, okay, so this is the fish we're going to target. Cool, we're going to chase it. There we go. I think at some level there's always going to be some sort of human interaction. You know what I mean? Like, somebody's going to have to monitor the device, whatever it might be.
Sure.
I don't think we're ever going to see a time where the sport of fishing has become fully automatic, because I don't know that there's an appeal for that.
No, there's not. And that's the thing. And That's the thing. It's always going to have a human aspect to it. Fishing is a physical. At the end of the day, fishing is a transactional thing.
Yeah.
You have to put baits out there. You have to reel in fish. You have to interact with wildlife that way. Now, where I see all of these things that we're talking about, like these AI technologies, and even like these there's going to always be, again, we're dividing into these two classes, the haves and the have-nots.
Yeah.
It's the technology against no technology. It's the caveman versus the rocket man. I mean, it's these two segments. There's always going to be a segment of the fishing industry that doesn't want to do it. I will never have a damn AR headset. Or I will never have an augmented reality headset.
Yeah.
I won't do it. That's just not something I'm going to do ever.
Yeah.
Promise you. I can say that now with all certainty. We won't get 10 years from now. I'll change my mind. I'm never going to have it.
Yep.
But there's somebody that will, and there's somebody that's willing to, because they're,
Right.
But now for the AI side of things, there's going to be people who don't have jobs in here in a couple of years because their job is taken away from AI and they're not needed anymore. But fishing being what fishing is, you're always going to have the human component of it, period.
Yeah.
Same with hunting. I mean, why would the whole thrill of hunting or the whole thrill of fishing is catching the fish? Why would I want to automate the process of catching a fish? Now, that being said, there may be an automation process for industrial level fishing.
Commercial stuff, definitely. I could see how that might work out.
We have to worry about that. I mean, because if we have an AI that runs a boat on an industrial level that's fishing like that, we could fish out the oceans in a couple of years. We got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
But as far as like what we do, there's going to be the guy out there that goes buys a brand new Icon, and he has his AR headset on and he goes and catches fish. And then there's going to be the guy who doesn't. It's always going to be that way. But it's just it's what it is. It's crazy.
And there's always going to be that human element of like the us versus them. We just love to device everything out in one way or another. Like when I bought the boat, the number one thing people reached out were like,
hey, what are you going to do with the kayak, man? You going to give up on kayak fishing?
and I'm like, no, like, because my goal is to be able to do both. For different applications and stuff. You get folks all the time that'll talk about, extreme baits like big swim baits or, super ultralight baits versus conventional stuff. And they're like, I don't need anything else except my, Zoom trick worms. That's all I need. Or, there's always that group. And we as humans just love to look at sports, with teams like rivalries. Like there's no reason why you should hate Detroit except for the fact that
It's fucking Detroit.
That's right. Screw the lines.
It's just the way that it is,
It is. And that's the thing too, is like all of those things, again, they will still all exist. Like I got to get him. I mean, old boy went and bought him an Icon. They literally, like, Icon is the rich man's boat. But anyway, it used to be a Ranger, but now it's Icon. I mean, when you look at the price of the base models of those boats, they'll make you cute. But anyway, but like at the end of the day, sports are still going to exist. I mean, nobody wants to watch robots play football. I mean, it's just is what it is. But from other aspects of life, I mean, it's like Beth. Bethany, she runs customer service for Monster Bass, and she did a training that I was privy to the other day that essentially was them introducing them to the AI that is going to take her job.
Shut up.
And she's going to train the model, the AI model, to essentially act like a human and then facilitate to make sure the AI model does its job the proper way. And then eventually the AI model learns enough that it doesn't need any facilitating whatsoever, and it does the job more efficiently, more effectively than she ever could, because Bethany can have one problem open at a time and solve one problem at a time. AI can have 100 problems open at a time and solve 100 problems.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Tell me she's gonna mess with it and put a couple of like random things that make no sense. So it's just
listen, boys. Hey, we already saw what happens when you put one wrong line of code in a security program. So all I'm saying is that the end may be closer than we think, because all it's going to take is one wrong line of code and the AI launches nuclear weapons and we're all dead. So
you're right. You're right.
Just give everybody hope. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh man, this freaking
wild.
Chat's been amazing. A lot of folks weighing in on some of the technology stuff. What was it? Binya says the deck of your boat is going to become an LCD where you just look at it and see what's under you, able to zoom, etc. Lockwood chimes in and says technology advances, bucket all you want, it's happening regardless. As it potentially makes things easier, more convenient, whatever. The takeaway is a detachment from instinctual thought process. John Hagens goes, I can see it now. Locked in following a big blue cat and still catch the soft shell turtle, aka bait interceptor. Freaking nuts, man. Freaking bananas. We got a bunch of freaking stuff. The Rise of Skynet. I knew someone was going to say it. The Rise of
every
Skynet.
time we talk about this stuff, all I can hear
cannot believe it.
Oh, Lord.
Good God.
Well, enjoy your icon there, bud.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
When
Alex.
you're out there with your pinky up, driving around, all the folk are on the bank.
Around all the peasants.
Yeah.
When I was on the water and I was measuring this fish, I did notice that Joe had gone and sat in the passenger seat of the Icon and pushed a button and a little espresso machine lifted up, and he made himself a little macchiato on the water, had a cigar, and then made his first cast. Like, I'm like, you're doing all right, Joe. You are doing okay. Meanwhile, I'm cracking crisp Diet Cokes out of my Igloo cooler on my Lund, and I got fish slime all over the place. And
Right.
I probably should have fizzed that brown.
I offered you a beer out of
did. You did
the vacuum, sealed cooler
but you
in that
didn't
thing.
tell me you were
You
brewing
had
it.
to use the word. You had to use the term vacuum sealed cooler. Did you see that, Jab? I don't care anybody think about my the nuts is what that was. And it's like, and here's the thing. I got a nice Skeeter. It's a 2006.
Nice
I love my Skeeter. I love my boat. But that was still a swift kick in the nuts, vacuum sealed cooler. So, anyway, he will be the first one that AI catches the fish for him. He's going to be.
I know.
Yeah, I caught my PB today. I didn't even have to reel it in. It reeled it in for me.
I wasn't even on the boat. I was sitting in my truck at the boat ramp.
That's right.
Thing of beauty, man.
Cold. I decided not to go out.
Now,
that's good.
That I'm looking forward to is when AI can have the boat splash the boat in the water. You just walk on, then it drives the truck and parks it. And then you don't have to get Alex and his two coolers parking your truck for you. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. I'll still be out there though with my 2 signs, just waiting for y'all.
Hell yeah, you got to make a buck somehow, and if it's off of other folks' inabilities, why the hell not? Why?
That's right.
This show has been absolutely awesome, fellas. Really, really good show this week. You guys are hands down the greatest audience ever. Just an FYI. The feedback from last week's episode has been absolutely freaking awesome. I've been in touch with Charlie. Are you familiar, Alex, with Charlie Moore at all?
Yeah, when you said Charlie Moore, I was thinking like the Charlie Moore that used to have a fishing show
on Nesson, and
Fisherman.
Yeah, Mad Fisherman. Yeah, dude. I remember watching Charlie Moore with my dad on Saturday mornings when I was like 8 years old. Yeah, so I know who Charlie Moore is. That's pretty badass.
So we had a listener that was kind of trolling Charlie a little bit in the comments, but Charlie can handle that shit. That's the thing. To be perfectly honest, I think he kind of enjoys it a little bit, maybe. But
probably.
We got roped in to the comment thread, and we had him on the show. And dude, I have never had a conversation with somebody that was as genuine. Like, we had a great conversation. In fact, Friday after the service, we were texting back and forth. And I'm serious. I want to get on his boat soon. and I want to be on his show because I see Charlie when I'm at work and I'm hosting trivia at bars. I'll be setting up. They'll have Nesson on at like a lot of these bars, sports all the time, and it'll be Charlie Moore Outdoors. I'm like, holy shit, that's wild, man. Yeah, it was just freaking bananas. A lot of folks who have been getting back to me really enjoyed the interview, which I think is awesome. And I have a feeling that we're going to be getting a lot of folks reaching out saying, you guys have to have Alex on more because let's be honest, Alex is great. And if you're not following him on YouTube, both of his channels, Alex, go ahead and drop where folks can find you, because not only do you have Alex Red Fishing, but you also have your second YouTube channel, which I think is genius.
Yes. And I need to get back on making videos for my second channel. It's just been so hot that I don't want to sit in the beer barn because I literally sweat through shirts. But no, if you don't know who I am, hi, my name's Alex Rudd, and I like long walks on the beach, horseback riding. I also go bass fishing occasionally. But no, for real, it's Alex Rudd Fishing on everything. Literally, you just type in Alex Rudd Fishing on any platform, and I'm going to pop up. We got the YouTube channel, Instagram, TikTok, podcast, Facebook, all of that kind of stuff. Just started a brand new YouTube channel called Bass Fishing Tips. And so I don't know how I lucked up and got that username, but I did. And so Bass Fishing Tips is just a daily tip channel dedicated to like quick, easy, digestible things for anglers, really of all skill levels, but especially like the dudes who are just getting, that like year 1 to 5 angler.
Yeah.
Like I'm trying to give you guys the stuff that literally what I do. I get to fish 40 hours a week. It's my job. I get to go fishing. And so when I'm out on the water, there are things that I experience that I go, damn, that was actually really interesting. And I'll go home and I'll make a video about it and I share it with you guys so that if you ever run into it on the water, you guys know what to do. And so that's what Bass Fishing Tips is. And so, yeah, it's really cool. Really fun.
I've actually told some folks that they love fishing and they're, like you said, that like 1 to 5 year. I'm like, yeah, that's really accurate. Where they get to a certain point and they're just like, so what do I do? Do I just pick a technique and like learn that inside and out? And I've told them, I'm like, Bass Fishing Tips is a great resource to get the ball rolling,
Yes.
And
that's what I want it to be. I just want to give people ideas to go experiment on because that's what makes you good. Go fishing. Yeah. I mean, like literally, like, and that's what I'll tell you, like watch a video and then go fishing, go try anything. If I tell you to do something, go try it. If it doesn't work out, come back. I'll have another tip that day and go try that until you find something that works near you. Because I literally I get to travel. I get to fish all kinds of places. I mean, I fished in Michigan this year, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, all that stuff. And so I'm just taking what I learned. I'm applying it to those bass fishing tips and I'm getting out there so the people can learn and go catch fish and have fun.
I freaking love it, man. Freaking love it. Joe, what do you got lined up this week? You doing anything fishing?
I'm trying to. I'm thinking about going up, spending a few days up at St. Lawrence.
That's right,
St. Lawrence River.
Yep.
But I'm actually running into the same thing that Alex was. I need an Airbnb that I can bring the dogs. So. And I really wanted to get one like on the water because the wife wanted to be on the water.
For sure.
And so we only have to bring one vehicle so I can just dock the boat and drop the trailer and she can have the truck if she wants to go somewhere. But it's going to be a last minute thing. I'm still currently searching, so we'll see what happens. I found one and it, Meg will still have to work while she's there and no Wi-Fi. I was like, fuck. I was like, thought I had it.
Airbnbs that I look at it and I'm like, How does this exist in 2024 that there's like no Wi-Fi? Like what? Like what is this?
I know.
I know. For some folks, the whole like I'm going to disconnect. Like I get it, but like just unplug the router. Tell them it's off-grid accessible.
Yeah. Yep.
It's freaking. Look at us though, Joe. You at St. Lawrence, me up at Champlain.
Yeah, you are going to Champlain. That's
catching absolute tanks. Knock on wood. Hopefully.
Yeah, hell yeah.
This is I can't recommend this trip enough, Alex, if you're into it. Lockwood says if you're ever if you're ever down to Maryland, look me up and I'll put you on. Lockwood fishes some pretty freaking sick river systems and I had a blast down there. You'll have a good time.
That sounds like right up my alley. If the water moves and there's fish in it, I'm down.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It is something. We had a good time. Joe, there's not an Airbnb on your boat, he says. Oh my God.
Yeah. Doesn't that icon come with a full house on the back? Like
yeah. It comes on a separate trailer. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
That's gonna be freaking awesome, man. I'm looking forward to it. You guys are absolutely amazing. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this sucker up. I gotta fire up the grill. I got some smash burgers to make. You guys are absolutely amazing. Remember, 7 days from now, we'll have a brand new episode of Jigs and Bigs for you guys. One thing I do want to mention before we wrap things up, the August, September, and October scavenger hunt tournaments on Fishing Chaos are ready to go. They'll be launching, and registration is open for August right now. We're going to have a link available for you in the description of the podcast, as well as all of our links for all of our partners and everything else. And I've been, as we talk about baits, I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but in the description, I've been leaving links to Dark Horse Tackle and to Omnia, so that if there are specific baits that you're interested in, we're putting links so you can easily have access right to them. So it's kind of what we're trying to make things easier for you, trying to make that whole description box a little bit more effective, packet full of value. John Higgins is already freaking signed in. It's going to be August is going to be an interesting month. I'm going to see Metallica twice in August, and
hell yeah.
Yeah, and
you ever seen him live?
Oh yeah, I've seen them before. I saw them in '97, right when they started to kind of like, but they still all play the great shit, the old stuff.
Yeah, so good.
That's so what I'm there for. I love it. Let's go ahead and do this. John, before we wrap up, I do want to mention John. Go ahead, and he has a great tale that would have made a great FTG involving a kayak purchase through a major retailer, and they dropped the ball something fierce. So if you want to call the hotline, go ahead, give the hotline a call, and leave a message there. We'll make that our FTG for next week, because this is some fucked up shit. It really is. It's a mess. Do you guys have anything you want to throw in before we wrap up?
All good.
Just be out there, be fishing, do stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Who is it that says that? Keep fishing, never stop.
Oh, John B.
That's what it is.
I'll give him my outro. You guys are sweet, and we'll see you next week.
Hell yeah, and I'll give him mine. Like we always say, everybody.
Tits and ass, smoke some grass.